What's up, everybody? Welcome to the lab. I'm your host, Joshua Diaz. Good to see you. Good to be here. Oh my God, it does the repeat. StreamYard, save the settings. Holy hell. This is not a good start. All right, well, God, it was perfect too. It was like a perfect, we were like flowing. We were flowing. It's like the Cuomo promo, you know? What's happening, everybody? Yes, I snorted a little. Oh, my God. it's like, oh, ta-da! It's like a crash. It's a crash and burn every time. Anyway, good to see you guys. Thank you so much for being here. An interesting day, I guess, when it comes from the perspective of, Thanos Nanos, Sheriff Nanos, the Thanos spoke. Ashley Banfield backtracks. Who didn't see that coming? I mean, seriously, anybody? I was in the zone. I was like, welcome to the, and then it just went womp, 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 because the music repeats itself apparently for no apparent reason. Why you would want intro music to repeat itself, I'm sure. I don't know, but I was flowing. It's all right. We'll let it be. Anyway, so once again, and yeah, we're on a little later tonight. It's not exactly, you don't have to be quote unquote nice, but it was just interesting, I mean, he's just kind of a fly by night kind of fella. Nano. I know. He's interesting. I gotta tell you, he is. He's an interesting guy. I just don't know really what to make of him. But I guess we'll start off by Banfield backtracking on her impeccable source, and then we'll move in to the meat and potatoes of what happened today. I have not watched the interview room yet, but I'm told it was really good, which is pretty standard. But he's a strange fella, I got to tell you. The fact that he even mentioned, like, I'm a politician, which I thought was funny. Is my volume low? I didn't watch it, but I will. I haven't seen it yet. So, okay, I don't know why this is so pronounced, but I was waiting for this. I was wondering what Banfield had to say, but it seems like she majorly backtracks. Which, I mean, what was she gonna do? I mean, I don't know if anybody remembers me saying this, but if you go back to when she first said this, I said, look, and then if he turns out to, if Tomasio Benitiano or whatever his name is, Musolano, tomato guy, whatever his name is, I don't know, the band guy, the lizard guy, if he turns out to not be a suspect, she's going to go, well, my source said he could be. And that's what she did. He could be. And, you know, I don't know if he still is or not. I mean, the sheriff says he is, and he'll get into that later. But I knew that she would say that. Is Josh freezing and skipping audio, or is it me? Oh, no. Really? Well, sheriffs are elected officials, which makes them politicians. All right. All right. So, you know, that's what it is. But let's hear what just adds. I don't even. All right. I don't know. Let me see here. YouTube was glitching. The app wasn't really working. All right. So once again, I said that if it happened that he was cleared, and he, like I said, the sheriff says that he's cleared. So whatever.
Going store to store.
Let me say hi really quick to some people. It's good to see you, Jocelyn. What's up, Susie B? We got Patty in the house. That's true. I do have the tea. She did die on her hill. I called this too. I friggin' called it. And I wouldn't be surprised. Look, this is just me thinking out loud here. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is like he's shoving it to Banfield and going, you know. Josh is fine. You can interpret however. Interesting. Thank you. I did. I mean, I just knew that. I knew that this is what she would do. All right. Here goes Banfield with a creepy necklace.
All around Tucson with a stack of 40 photos and 40 names.
No, we don't want to hear that.
Good look. Got a really interesting comment that's coming up about 40. Is that actually effective, or do you actually end up making it more difficult for these store owners because you're showing them so many photos? That's coming up in just a moment. Don't go anywhere, because when you hear Spencer Corson weigh in on that, you're going to give your head a shake. Also, big, huge news. The sheriff putting out a statement today.
Oh, here we go.
A very strident statement, clearing all of the Guthrie family.
Every last one of them. Not one. Not one did he leave out to dry.
The kids and their spouses. Very important. Let me read the comment of the statement word for word. It is a statement from Sheriff Chris Nanos on the Nancy Guthrie investigation. Quote, to be clear, the Guthrie family, to include all siblings and spouses, has been cleared as possible suspects in this case. The family has been nothing but cooperative and gracious and are victims.
I'm just saying that she sounds like she believes it.
In this case, to suggest otherwise is not only wrong, it is cruel. The Guthrie family are victims, plain and simple. Please, I'm begging you, the media, to honor your profession and report with some sense of compassion and professionalism.
I mean, I don't know if like this is a self-awareness thing or if this is just how reporters are typically, but that was actually crafted for her personally, in my opinion. And she read it as though she was preaching to the choir instead of reading it as a note to herself. Happy Valentine's Day, Ashley Banfield.
Interestingly, NBC had two sources last night that said that authorities are leaning away from their original suspects in this case. Well, in order to lean away, you would have had to have leaned in. And I think it's interesting that the sheriff uses this language when, in fact, it was the sheriff's department and the FBI that towed Annie's car.
Yeah, but that's what they're supposed to do. I mean, I think that's just standard operating procedure, is it not? And you have a big forehead. I have a big forehead too.
On day 2 or 3, I got the news on day 3.
Well, everybody speculated about it because their car got towed, their house got searched, and then Banfield, before all that, said that the son-in-law is a person of interest or a suspect, or possibly the main suspect, because he was the last one to see Nancy before she disappeared. So it wasn't like everybody didn't sort of kind of go, well, that makes sense. But to go as far as to call him the prime suspect maybe was a little premature. Yes or no? I'm just saying that, look, the sheriff could be lying and trying to get, I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying he is. I don't know.
On Tuesday, after the Sunday disappearance, under a warrant, and had it processed. And then also stop the search.
But if you listen to what she says here, listen here.
Annie's car department.
But they're the ones that.
And the sheriff uses this language when, in fact, it was the sheriff's department and the FBI that towed Annie's car.
Oh, yeah, that was the last car that she was in. They're looking for traces. I mean, that's not really it's kind of standard, I guess.
On day 2.
Not, I guess, it is.
2 or 3.
But before that stuff happened, I think it was before, not after. Correct me if I'm wrong. That she was the one saying that her impeccable source, and she used the word impeccable about 30 times. Now your source isn't so impeccable. It just seemed premature. That's all I'm saying. From a reporter standpoint.
I got the news on day 3, on Tuesday, after the Sunday disappearance, under a warrant, and had it processed. And then also stopped the search on day 2 and returned the scene. Said the scene is done 30 hours after the disappearance. All of that seemed very odd. And then to see all of the activity over at Annie's house, taking her mail, searching inside, searching around the property, searching the neighbors, all of these things, it stands to reason, as most law enforcement experts will tell you, people who've been in law enforcement, that is the first place you search. Is it the last?
Yeah, everybody knows that, though.
And should you lock in on it? That is the question.
Or should you report on it? That's really the question.
So my source told me that they had locked in, that he may be the prime suspect on day 3. What has changed? I said in my first podcast, they always reserve the right to change their minds, and often do. They did with John Benet Ramsey's dad.
Yeah, can you guys hear that? Is that just me? Can you hear? It sounds like a backtrack.
They did with Ed Smart.
Look, I'm not saying that I believe the sheriff. I'm just saying that she's just trying to clear up what she did.
Elizabeth Smart's father. They can always change their mind, and should, if the investigation takes them that way. So this could be very, very good that they're actually doing the right work. But why lock in so early? Because, again, my source is airtight about that information on that Tuesday. They had locked in on one person in the Guthrie family. Why did they do that? When you hear from Spencer Corson in a moment, you will be enlightened as to what happens with certain kinds of detectives at certain phases of an investigation. And also, not going to lie, law enforcement has taken it on the chin for the last 5 years. Many folks in law enforcement have said, I'm out. Fuck this.
Whoa. 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 Where did that come from? Banfield. Whoa. She's pissed.
Been treated like garbage. And many very, very skilled and talented and experienced professionals have left the force, which then is backfilled by newer people.
We're only allowed one F-bomb on this show a night. One. And she used it up.
Newer people, less experienced, fewer hours on the job, maybe not the instincts, may have come into a situation early and made some assumptions. There's something called confirmation bias that Spencer's going to talk about in just a moment, and he's going to weigh on this because he's much better at it than I. But again, from day one, I always said, this is where they're focused now, and they absolutely could change. And now it looks like they have. Although there are several people saying that the federal authorities are not parroting that same reporting. They are not clearing the same way that the sheriff is. So let's talk a little bit about the 24-hour change. That's interesting as well. Yesterday, the Daily Mail spoke to Sheriff Nanos, and he said 100% no one has been cleared. Elizabeth Vargas spoke with the sheriff on Friday, and the sheriff was even more strident than that. He said, no one is cleared ever. And then I'll paraphrase this. He said, until there's someone arrested. So this is a very big turn of events in this many days. And then, of course, in just 24 hours from what the Daily Mail said. So something had to change. So I asked somebody with a lot more skill than I have in what it's like on the ground in the original.
I used to really like Ashley Banfield, and I'm not really sure, she used to be really good. I thought I know that she still has a lot of fans and detractors and things like that. But I used to really like her, and she's a little reckless sometimes, I think. But I guess as independent journalists, that sort of happens. I guess, I don't know. Please examine air traffic control. What happened? How am I gonna do that? What specifically? Yeah, I don't hate her. I'm just saying that it seems like in this case it's kind of odd.
Investigation, the strategies, the mechanics of the investigation, and the talent that shows up at an investigation to weigh in on how things are so different today than they were at least on day 3. True. Here's Spencer Corson, threat man.
And typically you can be a little more, I'd say, reckless or careless. I mean, she got some information from somebody, allegedly, and she ran with it. And reporters do that all the time.
Management expert, founder and CEO of
Hit that like button.
Corson Security Group, and former Special Deputy U.S. Marshal weighing in on that. Have a listen.
One is it's not outside the realm of possibility to go with the person who was with her last, which if that was the brother-in-law and that was the car that he drove, they would want to at least eliminate.
What the hell is this guy?
Eliminate that vehicle of any possibility. And of course, you're going to look at close friends and family because this kind of a crime typically involves some kind of a grievance. On the pathway to violence, there's several key stages. There's a grievance, there's an ideation, which is that you can do something to remedy that grievance. Then you get into the research and planning, then you get into the breach, would be breaking into her home, and then finally the attack. And who typically is engaged in intimate partner violence is intimate partners, whether that be close friends or family.
I'm feeling snarky, and I'm going to give some shit tonight, but don't take it personal like I'm giving, these people on the screen shit, but tell me you take testosterone without telling me you take testosterone by having a chest hat that's exposed while wearing an all black pressed button up shirt with slick back hair and a goatee.
It's also important to keep in mind that over the course of an investigation, that investigation is going to yield insights that could go beyond what your initial conclusion was. And this is why you don't want to get too focused on confirmation bias and believing that it was a close friend or family member, and leave the opportunity or leave the window of opportunity open to have that investigation take you where the facts lead, not where your conjecture had taken you.
So Spencer is going to weigh in on a lot more of today's reporting. And let me tell you, I love when I meet someone like him because he is in the thick. He knows his business.
He knows where to get the stack at the gym.
And when he says something, it's not just conjecture. It's based on skill and experience. So here's the rest of today's reporting. Harvey Levin got another note today.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get into that guy too, by the way, because, you know, it sounds like Harvey may have taken my advice to stop reporting about this shit. And for some reason, he decided today, well, it's probably a good idea if I keep getting these notes not to say. I said that last night. I said he needs to stop telling people that he gets these. He should just pass them on to the FBI and shut his cake hole. And he doesn't. But for some reason today, he's like, okay, well, I'm going to stop writing these.
This is number 4, if you're counting, not including the original note that he got, which was from the original ransom seeker, alleged ransom seeker that came in on Tuesday, right? Mrs. Guthrie goes missing on Saturday night, Sunday morning, and on Tuesday, the ransom requests start rolling in. How convenient, and very unlike typical ransom takers. But that first note was, give me $4 million, and if you don't give it to me by Thursday, give me $6 million by Monday.
Like, first they were getting first TMZ was getting ransom notes. Okay, fine, whatever. And then, so it goes from ransom notes to now somebody's like, well, I have information about this case, and if you give me a Bitcoin, I'll tell you where she is, but I don't trust the FBI. And then Harvey's like, every friggin' day, he's just like, dude, here we go again. I got more for you. Here's another note and another one. DJ Khaled voice and another one and another one. And then, you know, it's just like, finally, I was just like, dude, Harvey, you got to stop. It's enough. It's enough. People are messing with you, and you're buying it hook, line, and sinker. And then he's like, well, these people are hunting me down. It's like, you're doing this because it's keeping you in the loop. Yeah, nobody's saying he can't report on it. He can report on whatever he wants, but I mean, these notes are they're fake. They're phony.
It came and went, didn't hear from them again. And then this other guy starts sending Harvey notes. First one is, I've got information. I'm prepared to sell it for a Bitcoin, 67,000 or so. The next one is, you're not taking me seriously. You should take me seriously. And that third one, I believe, was that this is the last time you'll hear from me.
All right.
Apparently not. We got a fourth note. All right, let me read verbatim.
And the fifth one. Josh, what's your hypothesis on this case? People are going to disagree with me. I think it was some sort of targeted robbery. I think whoever did this knew that she was going to be home alone in the middle of the night, that she was a soft target, and it went wrong. I believe she died during the commission of the crime, and I think they got rid of her body. And everything else has been a smokescreen. That's my hypothesis. It's probably wrong, but it to me makes the most sense. To me, it makes the most sense, but I've tried to reconcile. I don't know. It's so weird.
From the actual note that TMZ received. Quote, I saw Savannah's latest video and my heart goes out to her. It really does. But I cannot turn myself in, leaving my family unprotected and broke, especially now that I'm being hunted. I know what I saw
Being hunted
5 days ago, south of the border. and I was told to shut up. So I know who he is.
I know one thing. There's no way that this was a kidnapping for ransom, because people don't play around with their quote unquote payday or precious cargo. If you're going to go through all this, first of all, you don't take 40 minutes to kidnap somebody. Second of all, you don't take, what is this, 3 weeks now? You don't take 3 weeks to deal with this. Okay, well, what's your hypothesis? What do you think happened? Was no burglary. How do you know? Because was a hit for what? A hit? Okay.
And that was definitely Nancy with them. Okay. So, again, this guy's only been sending these notes to TMZ.
Well, Ryan Eats Crayons is a fitting name for you. Thank you for your comment, but I can almost guarantee you everything that you just said is not gonna be the end all be all. Ryan Eats Crayons.
Not to the local Tucson TV stations, and not to the family. Not typical for, ransom, serious ransom, people in the business of ransom. And by the way, Spencer's going to weigh in on this as well, which is interesting. But Harvey decided to turn the tables. And I think this is interesting. He made a direct appeal saying, number one, if you didn't do this, you're committing a crime and you're in a whole world of shit. My words.
Unbelievable.
You're in a lot of trouble. It's very, very illegal. And number two, how about this? Send us the information at TMZ. We will take it to the FBI. And you will have the chain of custody that you were the person that gave them that information. And if it bears out, you will get the money, because we can.
Every time TMZ says I got a letter, I think of Blue's Clues.
Prove that you were the person who actually gave us the information. So
yeah, Ryan
checkmate.
Knows.
I don't know. I think it was really quick and smart. But I also think these people are full of shit. I do. I think these are, again.
Yeah, so do I.
I'm not the only one. People who are just capitalizing on a tragic situation and trying to extort money out of the Guthrie family. So next up is the DNA, because this has been a huge deal, right? So much has been made about the glove that was found 2 miles away.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing, is that there was no hit from the glove 2 miles away. And was anybody really expecting there to be? I had zero faith that anything was going to come back from that. Zero faith. Ryan Lick's Windows might have thought that it was just a smokescreen by the CIA or whatever, but
from Nancy,
I personally didn't think that. But
Guthrie's home, side of the road, it resembles the glove in the video. That's why it's of interest. Okay. I don't know why the FBI has zeroed so much into that particular glove, other than it looks like the one on the doorbell cam. And I'm wondering if there's more to it, because Steve Fisher, who's a private investigator in California, he zeroed in on the finger
who
of
Steve Fisher. SF investigates.
One shot on the doorbell video of the guy with the balaclava, and it looked like there was a hole in the finger. It's hard to tell, but it kind of looks like it might be a hole. And it also happened at
Steve Fisher. How does that guy like just somehow? Well, I think that what happened was that there was a burn, and I found 55 people. Nobody knows anything about shit.
After the suspect grabbed at the thistle or the vine and pulled it up, and maybe there was something that pricked a hole in the finger of that glove, and maybe just maybe that glove had a hole in the finger. I don't know. For whatever reason, they've zeroed in saying that that one is special. That glove is being tested at the Florida lab. Okay. And the DNA profile that comes back pretty.
Yeah, he's the one on that case. He was the one on Kylie Rodney. He's the one that didn't give Adventures with Purpose the money that they were owed. He's the one that said Adventures with Purpose used his drone footage, which they vehemently deny. He's the one that got paid 15 grand in the Sebastian Rogers case to do absolutely nothing and find out absolutely nothing and solve absolutely nothing.
Quickly, has a chain of custody. So let me read to you a little bit about why this matters, and then we'll get into what the words actually mean. So Libby Dean from News Nation and Michael Ruiz from Fox News Channel both got this same statement from an FBI official. And it says the DNA from the glove in Nancy Guthrie's case is still undergoing quality control.
Well, yeah, they're
in the sheriff.
Yeah, they are, but I mean, but the thing is that the guys that were working for him at the time, and it wasn't necessarily him. It wasn't, you know, whoever ran it. It was just the other guys. Still.
Sheriff's private lab in Florida after being sent from Tucson on February 12th. It is expected to be inputted into CODIS in the near future. Quality control. We've heard that before. So Libby Dean also got this further reporting, and this is what she says. And she's from News Nation. She's a great reporter in Washington. She said the decision to send the glove with DNA to a private lab in Florida is causing what one source familiar with the case calls, quote, unnecessary delays in getting the DNA entered into the FBI's.
That is a very good question.
CODIS database. That's because the FBI does not accept DNA submissions directly from private labs.
Okay, wait. Okay, hold on.
Accept DNA submit necessary delays in getting the DNA entered into the FBI's CODIS database. That's because the FBI does not accept DNA submissions directly from private labs.
Okay, so it wasn't protocol, it wasn't chain of command, it wasn't anything. For some reason, the FBI won't take DNA from private labs. Okay, then why send it to the private lab? So it has to go back. I mean, I don't want to get hung up on this again because it just really pisses me off, but that was the answer the whole time.
Instead, once testing is complete in Florida, it is likely the DNA data extracted must first be sent back to the state system in Arizona, where it can be uploaded and becomes shareable with the FBI for entry into CODIS.
What a waste of time.
That extra step adds time, creating what the source describes as a catch-up process, when the FBI could have processed and entered the data within a day, according to the source. This sounds a little bit more like the sniping that's been going on between the feds and the locals. There are some definitely on location in the field in Tucson who've been taking a bite out of the sheriff, saying that he's not playing in the sandbox well. The sheriff has pushed back on that, saying we work very well together and we continue to work well together. And the FBI actually okayed the idea that the glove went down to the private lab. Let me just tell you this. On 2/12, the FBI was in the mix. So that glove went to Florida.
Yeah, we know.
With the FBI pretty much in tow, that's the right place for it to go because all the rest of the other evidence is there. Something else you may have heard of today or earlier on today is that the house that was raided on Friday night, where a woman and a young man.
Yeah, but it wasn't chain of command. It wasn't. It has to follow certain procedure. The FBI just says we won't take it from a private lab. That's why we want to do it. It has to come from. It has to come from a state or federal lab that's not privately owned. That's what they say. Why? I don't know. But I guess that's why they probably said, why don't we just send it here so we can do it all in one spot? But in the end, it didn't matter because there was nothing on the glove.
Presumably, mom and son were taken out so that a search could happen, and that another person related to them, possibly her other son, was detained at a parking lot nearby. And there was a silver Range Rover. Whether he owned it or whether he was connected to it, not entirely definitive at this point, but it was towed away. He was detained, and they were all released, right? There was a car in their driveway that was damaged and had a blue tarp over it. And you can see it in Brian Enton's video when he walks up to the front door to knock and see if they talk. They didn't. But he made a comment about the car that had some damage there. So there was video of a flatbed truck ready to take that vehicle out. JLR, who's a live streamer on YouTube, shot that video, but there were no police vehicles.
JLR, dude. He's just like, JLR is getting major run these days. Hilarious. And shout out to JLR for letting people use this. Yeah, he could be stingy about that, and he's not. I mean, I gotta give him some credit for that. I know there's people that don't like him. There's people that do like him.
Nearby, which is a clue that this may not be a police action, right? Very coincidental that it's only a couple of days after this massive raid at their home. But then Michael Ruiz came in again with some killer reporting from the field, again, Fox Digital. And he
Thank you for your $2 donation, Deb. I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Said this, there was a vehicle with what appeared to be significant front-end damage in Placida de Rogelio driveway yesterday. And this morning at the home, we believe police visited Friday. It's not there now. And then he gives a credit to Dugan Ramirez.
Wait a minute. So CJ Mack, you voted for sheriff of Pima County and you didn't vote for Sheriff Nanos?
Then Michael Ruiz has an update, and he says a neighbor tells at C_Dugan Ramirez that the car was towed at the direction of State Farm.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, let me just tell you this. I did an interview a long time ago. It wasn't an interview, it was an impromptu interview. A guy called into my show by the name of Don Wells, cussed me up and down. We had a big old back and forth exchange. The shit went on for like 30 minutes. It was the talk of the community, right? I had never expected it. It was a whole thing. And JLR, who has a huge channel, reached out and asked me personally, can I play this? And that I will give you credit for it. And I said, sure. And yes. And he said, if you ever want to use anything of mine, feel free. And, that was the most interaction I ever had with him. And it was actually nice. The hurricane coverage was probably the best thing I'd ever seen him do.
Not law enforcement.
It was one of the craziest interviews ever.
Because it was totaled in a crash last week. That's very interesting. And it makes sense because, again, no law enforcement vehicles were there along with that flatbed truck. So let's put an end to that. But interestingly, Brian Enton comes in with even more reporting today. Super interesting about this raid on Friday night. Yes, we heard the sheriff.
Dear world, there are 2 houses on the hill and I live in the middle.
3 people detained, no arrests.
Not out.
But Brian Enton is saying that his sources are telling him there's some meat on the bones of that raid and that investigation, and that they are still going over evidence, electronics, and even DNA in that piece of their investigation. So it's really fascinating. Also, I learned about a guy named Dave Kennedy. He goes by Hacking Dave because he was a hacker, and he actually has a extraordinary security business now. He's behind the technology of the signal sniffer. Go figure. He is the guy who gave the feds his technology to put on the skids of their helicopter to fly around to see if it might pair up with Nancy's pacemaker. At the time, I thought, oh my God, the pacemaker and the phone are like, 8.
Rod, that's a good rule of thumb. The only update I listen to are by law enforcement, and we're going to get an update from law enforcement. The politician, back to the sniffer, dude. The sniffer.
to 30 feet.
There's no question that Brian is number one on this case and that everybody follows his lead. There's no question about it. If he was a live streamer, he would, and he's not. He's a little independent, and he's a little bit he's a little country, he's a little rock and roll, okay? He's a little hip hop, he's a little country, he's a little bluegrass, he's a little everything.
You can't get within 30 feet of a house and a chopper.
Rhett Morgan says, quote, "The sniffer," unquote, "was my nickname in college." For some reason, I fully believe that.
And as it turns out, you don't have to. I learned that Dave Kennedy's technology can actually do a handshake with that exact pacemaker. That pacemaker has its own address at 800 to 1,000 feet. And then just one quick addition. I should mention it just because it's making headlines. The president weighed in and threatened the kidnapper with the death penalty, but you should also know that that is a state decision. And yes, Arizona does have the death penalty, but that would be Arizona prosecutors if they find the person. And of course, one other key element here.
Yeah,
Mrs. Guthrie would have had to die. This would have had to be considered.
Rusty McShackleford. Yeah, we played it last night. We watched the whole thing. It was uneventful.
A murder in order for the death penalty to attach. So it's just important to put context into a statement like that. So I just wanted to make sure you all knew that as well. But before I get to Spencer and his remarkable brain, I mean, this guy.
We're going to move on from Spencer here in a second, but I got to see the testosterone guy.
Threat management expert, former special deputy U.S. Marshal. This guy knows everything about investigation.
By the way, I'm tired of hearing about the sniffer
And tracking bad guys. I want to thank my sponsors who make this podcast possible. Also, hit the subscribe button. It is such a solid for me. I'd so appreciate it. And Cook Unity has been a great partner, and I really like them. This has been a from Honey because Cook Unity. Use my. He's a threat man, author of The Safety Trap, and host of Corson's Corner podcast. Have a listen. Spencer, what do you make of this?
Love it.
What do you?
Oh my God, dude. And of course his name's Spencer.
Make of this report that the FBI is going around to Tucson gun stores with 40 names and 40 photographs, asking if someone in that store has seen anybody come in or purchased a weapon there.
40 people is well outside the framing of usual suspects and goes more to shooting a fish in a barrel.
The tattoo is probably fish being shot in a barrel.
40 people is not exactly a narrow, you haven't really narrowed things down at that point. I mean, you can ask somebody if they've remembered one person, maybe two, but if you start showing 40 photos to someone, they're going to get really confused as to who's who, especially if they look even remotely similar to each other.
And that's the pragmatic effect.
I don't disagree with that.
Of the actual gumshoe work, but what about just the collection of having 40 different people? Do you suspect they're all people?
He looks like he's gone through a lot of shock therapy. Yeah, dude, you got to, like, there's
people of slight interest.
Holy jeez.
Or more interest, or might there be some extra people thrown in there like they do in a lineup?
It could be both. I think what's most likely is Occam's razor, right? The most simple explanation is probably the most realistic. So I think they went through their files and looked through anyone who was stopped in question or any suspicious behavior or anyone who maybe was pulled over for vagrancy or shoplifting or some kind of like frivolous crimes who matched the height, the weight, and the description of this particular individual, pulled all those photos, took them around and said, let's start fishing.
Let's move to the other huge issue today, and that was that the Pima County Sheriff cleared the Guthrie family.
Look at his cup. He's got his own cup. Look at his logo. Arigato, Mr. Roboto.
The children and their spouses. And that's a big deal because early on I had reporting from a very high-level law enforcement source in that area that they had not only towed the car of the brother-in-law and sister, but that they'd also zeroed in on him. The wording they used was maybe the prime suspect now. That was all within like 48 hours of the disappearance. What do you make of that now changing completely?
One is it's not outside the realm of possibility to go with the person who was with her last, which if that was the brother-in-law and that was the car that he drove.
I'm really not that interested in what he has to say, but I'm going to watch it anyway because I love Lab over his left shoulder. That's right.
They would want to at least eliminate that vehicle of any possibility. And of course, you're going to look at close friends and family because this kind of a crime typically involves some kind of a grievance. On the pathway to violence, there's several key stages. There's a grievance, there's an ideation, which is that you can do something to remedy that.
And he went logo to facing the camera.
That grievance.
I don't know. He's some safety officer.
Then you get into the research and planning. Then you get into the breach, would be breaking into her home, and then finally the attack. And who typically is engaged in intimate partner violence is intimate partners, whether that be close friends or family. It's also important to keep.
Okay, but what he just said didn't make any sense at all. Listen to this again, one more time.
In mind that get into the breach.
Does anybody recognize what's wrong with this sentence?
Would be breaking into her home, and then finally the attack. And who typically is engaged in intimate partner violence is intimate partners, whether.
Well, if it's intimate partner violence, wouldn't that already suggest that it was done by an intimate partner, or it wouldn't be called an intimate partner violent crime?
That be close friends or family. It's also important to keep in mind that over the course of an investigation, that investigation is going to yield insights that could go beyond what your initial conclusion was.
99% of all domestic violence is done by somebody that is domestically lives with the person.
And this is why you don't want to get too focused on confirmation bias and believing that it was a close friend or family member, and leave the opportunity or leave the window of opportunity open to have that investigation take you where the facts lead, not where your conjecture had taken you.
So talk to me about the conjecture and the confirmation bias. Do you think that might have been at play here with these detectives?
Absolutely. I think that we have a police department that over the past several years has lost a lot of their really key members.
What's in that cup? Probably jet fuel.
I think I read somewhere that the average career time of an officer in that area is about 3 years. And that is, especially if they are not used to dealing with this kind of crime, may be outside of their everyday skill set. One of the things that I'm asked to do in my work as an expert witness is differentiate between competence or incompetence and negligence. And that can really be only determined by what was known at the time.
So it's interesting you say that, because one of the former homicide detectives in the Pima County Sheriff's Department, his name is Kurt Dabb, he has been on record saying that these guys are very young and inexperienced. He's not throwing shade on them. He's just saying a lot of.
Thank you, CJ Mang. I appreciate you subbing up, and thank you for that kind comment.
Really good talent left. After 2020, there was this mass exodus, and it's been backfilled by younger, less experienced guys. So if you take that to the very first day when the homicide detectives showed up, tell me from your expertise what you could see playing out.
I mean, you'd really have to be there on the ground, but it's within the realm of reason that if you have a police department, a sheriff's department especially, who mostly does evictions and serves warrants and does traffic stops and does domestic violence calls, that this could be something that's completely outside of their everyday realm of experience. And when you have people who are operating outside of their subject matter expertise, mistakes get made. If they
had locked in on one suspect, in this case,
you know what, Kelsey, I don't know. I thought about that as well, but I mean, she's lived there for 30 something years. I guess she just never didn't want to move. Yeah, we're going to get to that. We're really just, this is sort of just the preamble. And then I got interested in Mark McGuire's brother, Mike.
the brother-in-law in those first 48 hours. Does it stand to reason that they would call off the search, that they would return the house to the family, and that they would tow the brother-in-law and sister's car so soon, so quickly into the investigation?
Well, I think this goes back to saying, how much experience do these officers have? You're only going to clear the house if you believe that you have gleaned all of the forensic data that you could. Once that has been cleared and turned back over to the family, because the reason you want to make sure you have all that evidence beforehand is because you don't want to recontaminate the crime scene.
All right. I can't handle it anymore. All right. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of... He looks pissed. He just looks like he's just not having a good day. I always wonder. Never mind. I'm not going to say it. Well, look, we have to. Since 1975. Okay. It has been that long.
Now to week 3, if I flash back to February the 1st when you first get that call, what advice would you go back and give yourself now? Is there anything you do differently?
That's been asked 100 times. First of all, I think to answer that, people need to understand. I have a team of investigators and a forensic team that process crime scenes all the time, have done so for decades. They have solved hundreds, if not thousands, of cases. And so to sit back and judge that.
I'm going to say it. Why do people get haircuts that are the same length around their entire head unless they're shaving their head? And to comb it on top of that, I mean, look. I have not seen I haven't seen an old video of the sheriff. Oh.
Or question them, that's just crazy.
It's a lot of it.
They're my experts. I have to rely on them. I'll put their solvency rate against anybody in the nation in terms of those difficult crimes, homicides, robberies, rapes.
Like you go in and you're like, okay, well, what do you want? I want a 5 all the way around. A 5. A 5.
They do a tremendous job. I have a great team that does good work. So I've heard all the pundits out there about, we closed the crime scene too early, this, that, and the other. They have no clue. Where did they make that statement from? I have a team that goes there. They spent 20 some hours there. They came out of there. They immediately contact the FBI. That was another story. The sheriff is blocking the FBI. Where that stuff comes from, I have no idea. We have worked with the FBI at their office for decades. They have worked here for decades. We've always gotten along with the FBI. When decisions are made about an investigation like this, and we're partners with it's not just the FBI, my Pima Regional Critical Incident Team, which includes every agency in this valley. That wasn't the sheriff put that together. That was 11 law enforcement leaders in this county, along with the sheriff, deciding that we need to be transparent when we handle such things as officer-involved shootings,
all of this,
major investigations. And so we rely on each other and we partner. Staffing is a big issue. Every agency is short-staffed. So we double up and help each other. Right now, 400 officers out in this community working this very case. From the federal government to the state government to all our valley agents.
I don't mean to cut you off here. I am on a time crunch, so I want to get some in here. One of the other rumors that's been going wild, and at least one.
How many interviews did he do today? It looks like he did like 10.
Report of it.
Didn't Enton get into?
Is this has become a burglary gone wrong investigation? I know you have not mentioned that. You haven't talked about forced entry here. Do you have a theory on how this perp got in the house? Did Nancy open the door for a man in a mask with a gun?
First of all, the sheriff's theories don't really matter. It's those who are investigating this case, their theories, their thoughts, and they share that and work that together as a team. And all of those possibilities are something we all look at and consider. But it'd be very irresponsible of me to give out certain key pieces of this case so that the public can know.
You know, the thing that has been put out to the public, I know the FBI and you both released those images from the doorbell camera. Have all the images that you have been released, or are there more that...
Oh my goodness, no, because we have so many images from ring cameras and videos, traffic videos, intersection videos. You can't. But anything that we look at and say, this is critical, this can help us. See, that's where the public really can help us. We don't need all the pundits. We need you to tell us something you might have seen.
I just want to know what interview where he says, haters gonna hate. I heard him say it earlier, but I don't remember which one he said it on. Haters gonna hate. Lovers gonna love. Haters gonna hate, lovers gonna love.
Or know that can help us find Nancy. That's the focus, not the politics, not the wild guesses. We just need to know I firmly believe someone out there knows something. Someone out there saw something, heard something.
I swear to God, he said haters gonna hate. He absolutely said that.
We need that person to call us.
Has there been any evidence so far that Nancy is still alive, or is it just hope of investigators and the family?
There's been no evidence that she's not.
Yeah.
And it is hope, but sometimes that's all you have, yeah. And you have to go with that. And it's not just the family, it's not just my investigators, it's me. Yeah. We have to have some hope.
You know, you cleared the family yesterday publicly. I think that may have happened earlier in the investigation. Are you able to, the people we saw detained last week in Rio Rico Tuesday and then on Friday, have either or both of those incidents?
Does anybody remember the Chappelle skit where he was like making fun of R. Kelly and he was like, hate is gonna hate, love is gonna love, I don't even want none of the above.
Have those folks been cleared yet?
The rest, because it's bad.
Yep.
Well, I think in my mind, we've cleared them to a point where we feel like, okay, we've talked with them. We've done some checking on what they were reporting as maybe an alibi or whatever. We validated some information. There's still some evidence that we need to process because we did do search warrants at those homes. But yes, if detectives weren't satisfied, they wouldn't have been released.
You know, some people, again, the pundits have been critical of those searches coming up with what they're saying empty, right? And I know that these are not searches that happen willy-nilly. There's reasons that these searches happen. It's not just a snap of a finger.
Down the hall from here is our command post with detectives at FBI, our county attorney's office. The FBI has the same thing. Detectives over there from my agency and FBI agents and the U.S. attorneys. And so every time we come into something where it's questionable about the law, hey, searching someone's home is a really big issue to law enforcement. Not because you can gain evidence, but because you could be violating someone's right. Your home is your sanctity. So we
violating their right, but that's why you get a search warrant.
We look at that breach and take it very serious. So much so that we do check with county attorneys and different prosecutors, U.S. attorneys, and we review it with a judge. And based on all of that, we make a decision whether or not we have enough for a search warrant. If the judge approves, we go. Those are court orders.
Wait, this is not the interview.
Get more information like that and the judge approves, we should expect to see more of those?
Absolutely. These leads, for example, those days, you know.
The hater's going to hate.
Right now, detectives are getting information, various leads, 30,000 leads, 40,000 leads, whatever the number is. They're out there paired up and going and chasing down leads. It could be a lead to Walmart. It could be a lead to a gun shop. It could be a lead on anything, DNA, whatever. They chase it down. Once they get to a point where they go, okay, wait a minute, this is really turning into something, maybe develop a person of interest, then they come back in and we do some.
Shut up. Sorry. Let's go. Let's go.
Sheriff Chris Nanos, I know you're giving us limited time, and I appreciate it, with this investigation so fluid. But I want to go back a little bit early on. You said your gut told you that Nancy was taken from her home and that she is still alive at that time. What does your gut tell you now about the entry to the home? And was there forced entry? Or did she know the person that took her? What do you think now?
Okay, so I'm not going to get into the entry of the home or forced entry or any of that. What I'll tell you is I believe, just as I had initially, that Nancy was removed from that home against her will. She was kidnapped, and we still believe that.
How do you piece together the 40 minutes inside that home, after the doorbell camera disconnected? I mean, really no idea still?
There's all kinds of thinking on that and theories. And to be honest, you don't want the sheriff's theories.
Yeah.
You want the investigators, because they're the ones who actually physically know the evidence.
Subs in the
what
chat,
they
the mod.
collected, gathered that crime scene. They were there. They're doing all the interviews. I have a team of young men and women who do this every day. I hear the pundits that, the crime scene should have been done, should have been held longer. Look, this team of mine has done this type of investigation, homicides, for example, for decades. They have one of the highest solvency clearance rates in the country. Sometimes they get that case that you think will never be solved done in a day.
Sometimes they get the case that you think is never going to be solved. So what, after 4 hours, you go, this is never going to be solved. And then on the 5th hour, you solve it. What the hell does that mean?
They're very good. They're very well trained. They know what they're doing. I don't go and tell them, okay, we've been here long enough, let's go home. They spent over 20 hours at that scene processing it. They, along with forensic techs who are trained, process these things. Then they decide that they're done. They came here with all of their evidence. Some of the evidence we gave to the FBI. Why did we do that? Well, because we know the FBI is good with certain pieces of evidence, that they have the technological skills to deal with things like cameras and phones and different things. And we handed that to them. Ransom notes, gave them to the FBI. We use a lab that we've used again for decades for DNA. We submitted all of our biological evidence to that lab.
And you stand by that lab. I mean, was there any pushback by the FBI on that
No,
decision?
absolutely not. No, in fact, that's the point is FBI, the reason the FBI was part of this investigation immediately is we have members of our organization working with the FBI assigned to their building and have for decades. And they're the same here. So they were never not a part of this investigation. They were always a part of it. And to suggest that the sheriff blocked evidence, that's just crazy. We processed that scene. We went out and did a search warrant in Rio Rico, processed that scene, and the FBI found a glove. Hey, Sheriff, we're going to send this to Quantico and we'll check on DNA. I said, well, why do that? All of our DNA, all of it is at our lab. We'll just send it to ours. They said, makes sense. Thanks, Sheriff. That quick. There's no argument or discussion. It's just
makes sense. Okay. Right.
just about.
But now it doesn't make sense because now it has to go through, 3 different chains of command, or it's just, it doesn't make any sense.
Keeping your evidence together, let one lab deal with it. Mm-hmm. But that's not a slap at the
dub means win.
Lab we used or the lab the FBI used. FBI, we've used their labs before. They're very good. Our lab is very good. So it was never a discussion about the sheriff blocking evidence and not getting along with the FBI. We've always had a great working relationship.
What have we learned now about the glove, the DNA profile on that glove
came back, I think, either late last night or early this morning. The DNA came back. It was submitted into CODIS, and we have no hits in CODIS.
I mean, this was a key piece of evidence. A lot of people, the public, waiting for that answer. Now, what's next? Do you go the genetic genealogy route?
Well, absolutely, you do that. But we have other DNA evidence from the scene that is more critical to me than something found 2 miles away. All of that, though, will still be submitted for further analysis. That's, okay. You take a fingerprint and you hope to match it right away. But that's not that easy. You have to have so many points of characteristics that match on that fingerprint. DNA is no different. You have to have the DNA, have to have so many hits of lodi to make a comparative match. All of those things.
If you have not, please hit that like button on your way in.
Sometimes DNA's it's mixed. We have DNA from that scene that is a mixture of DNAs. So we have to separate, hope the lab can do that, and still preserve some of that evidence in case the defense wants to test it, should we make an arrest. All of those things are considered. It is truly a complex process in gathering that evidence, submitting it, analyzing it, and then resubmitting it. So yes, you're correct. The next step of DNA for those pieces would be to submit for genealogy.
Okay, that's a big step there. What about the sample inside the home? What's the status of those results and testing?
It's the same thing. I prioritized the home, that's our crime scene, well above anything found 2, 3, 4, 5 miles away. And we still have work to do there too.
Okay. It seems, Sheriff, that the department is almost like drowning in data. You have
Yes, he seems very defensive. Of course he does. He's been defensive.
investigators.
So the mixture of DNA, I found that to be, I mean, that's interesting. That's an interesting statement and kind of ominous too.
Have received 40,000 to 50,000 tips, at times 5,000 an hour between you and the FBI. I mean, logistically, how does an agency decide, even with the FBI's help, effectively sift through that volume and make sure that the golden tip doesn't fall through the cracks?
Well, you have, first of all, there are resources out there that will collect that data and sort through it for you and put it and prioritize it however you want it to be prioritized. Those programs exist, we know that, and we utilize them. But we take all of those leads and a level 1 lead might be higher priority than a level 4 lead. Example of a level 1 lead would be that video, the door camera video. It's a big lead. A level 4 lead might be, hey, I was asleep last night and I dreamed of aliens coming down to Earth. We're not gonna diminish that lead and say, oh, don't bother us with that stuff.
I think that you could probably skip I had a dream about aliens visiting us on Earth. That's probably one that you can discard, Sheriff.
Send it to us.
Send it to, okay.
Because if I say don't send me that one, what does that tell the community?
It tells everybody that you're not going to listen to bullshit leads.
I don't want to bother the department. I don't want to bother them with this. This isn't that big. No, send them in. We will sort through the 30, 40,000 leads. It's when you stop getting those leads and you've ran out of leads, that's when your case has gone cold.
Yeah. So you're saying bring it on, basically.
Bring it on. We're prepared to deal with it.
This goes with coming off your statement yesterday. It was a big statement because as recently
this reporter's pretty good.
As this past weekend, and even the press conference that you've said that everyone is on the table, everyone's being questioned. Now you've officially cleared the family of Nancy Guthrie as suspects. You called them victims in this case. What specific piece of evidence changed between this weekend and Monday that allowed you to officially rule them out, or were they ruled out a while ago?
They've been ruled out a while ago. Here's the thing for that, and the reason you probably saw my remarks, and they were a little terse. Look, you just as I stepped up, see, when we had our last press conference, I told you wouldn't be hearing from us for press conference. We're just not going to hold press conferences.
This is basically the same thing as a press conference. I mean, he went on a press tour today.
Press conferences.
Yeah, is it at the end of this video, Holly?
What you would do?
I'm just going to play this all the way through, and then we're going to move on to something not as mind-numbing, but
we would tell you.
But a hater's going to hate.
Is as we get information, we will put it out, and that has happened. But when I have,
it's not this video. Damn it.
Media, social media, news media, putting a wedge between two agencies, the FBI and the Pima County Sheriff's Department, two agencies that consider each other viable to their existence, to be able to solve crimes. We need the FBI. The FBI needs the Sheriff's Department. When this case is all gone, there's still going to be the Sheriff's Department and the FBI. When you try to separate that, you're not just hurting those agencies, you're hurting my community. And I'm not going to stand here and let anybody say, oh, the sheriff has a bad relationship or the sheriff blocked the evidence from the FBI. That is so far from the truth. Just as I'm not going to let anybody sit there and say mean things about our victims. You know, we're cops. Sorry, I know, I'm a politician. I suck at that. I'm not a good politician.
I suck at that.
That's okay. But I know one thing. I've been a cop for 50 years. And I know a cop's job. And one of those, the main job is to do what? To protect. To protect those victims out there who have no voice, who expect somebody to stand up for them. When you say, look, this family is hurting. To say that
I don't hate him either. I don't know what he's doing here.
things that have been said about them and even to speculate, I'm sorry, that's just wrong. We're human beings. We're supposed to be better than that.
Staying on this topic, you know, you called the suspicion toward the family cruel and wrong, you know, going to your statement.
Yes.
But your department did conduct multiple searches. I know you're doing your job at Annie Guthrie's house, at Nancy Guthrie's house. There was some focus initially about the son-in-law dropping Nancy off, and then it changed to the family
But
term.
isn't that the natural progression of any investigation?
Yeah.
Is to go and see, okay, who last saw our victim? Who is it that talked to him? What do they know about him? And when did they last see him? And naturally, you're looking into that. I think
Understood.
the family
He's been a cop for 50 years. He was a cop when he was what, 13? How old is he?
knows that. But my goodness, at some point in time,
He's not 50. He said he's been a cop for 50 years, which is, it was snowing this morning where I was, which is like really odd. And I did 5 miles today in 30-degree weather. And I got to tell you, it was horrible.
when we've done all this family has cooperated 100%, 100% everything we've asked for them, everything. Their cars, their phones, their computers, their statements.
And I got chased by a big ass poodle dog. Like a poodle dog. It was huge. It was a big ass black poodle dog and it chased me.
They are victims.
Do you acknowledge that, those actions, part of that investigative process sort of created those optics that you see in the media, or is this social media's fault? YouTubers, true crime pundits?
Transparency, particularly from law enforcement.
I kept running around a telephone pole. And then I think he thought it was a game, but he was trying to bite my ass.
I think you go back a couple of years ago, George Floyd.
Oh my God. George Floyd, what the hell? Where is he going?
There's a great demand for it. I'm now seeing transparency.
George Floyd, what the fuck? Yeah, I was running today, yeah.
Take a different turn. And in my mind, I kind of go,
George Floyd.
oh, wow.
Come on, bro. Come on.
No wonder so many chiefs or sheriffs hid from the cameras, didn't want to face that scrutiny. Transparency is not only good, it's needed, but there has to be a balance when that
Look, we need transparency. Nuremberg, Hermann Goring.
Transparency goes that people understand that there still is a criminal investigation, that criminal investigation touches people's lives, could mean people's lives, and that transparency is set up so that we can have communication with our community.
I have no idea how George Floyd entered the chat, but he did.
To give us leads and tips on things that might be critical to us. But
it wasn't a little poodle. It was one of the big ones. Like, it was a big poodle, barked at me, chased me through an alley, and then I started running around a telephone pole to hide from him.
I can't share the whole case with them. I can't just open up the doors and say, here it is. You guys, no. It is really about, for me, you have to be, look, throw your rocks at the sheriff.
We will, don't worry. No, it wasn't a standard poodle. It was an enormous poodle. It was like a big ass man-eating poodle. It was humongous, massive.
Make the politics.
Biggest poodle, the fastest poodle of all time.
What they are. The sheriff's good, bad sheriff. Good. Do all that white noise back here, because that's all it is to me. But you cannot attack my victims. And you cannot put a wedge between agencies that are working hard 24/7 to solve a case.
Well, it wasn't a standard poodle. It was the biggest poodle I'd ever seen.
Two-parted, but it's been 16 days. There's been 4 ransom demands at least. At what point does it stop being a rescue and become a recovery mission? And can you finish off by addressing the camera and giving your message to the person or persons responsible for Nancy's abduction?
Your question really is on, again, the sheriff's belief from day one that Nancy's still here.
It was a black poodle.
You have no proof, nobody does, that she's not, that she's deceased. They ask me, do I have proof of life? I ask them, is there proof of death? I'm going to have that faith. And sometimes that faith, that hope is all we have. My team, 400 people out there in the field today, woke up this morning and went out there with the hope and the belief that they're going to find Nancy and she's going to be okay. That family has that hope and belief. I'm not crushing that. We're going to continue working this case every minute of every day. And we will find her. And we will find you.
Okay, Ollie, can you put the haters gonna hate one in there again? I'm sorry. It was a big poodle.
The individual doing this, let her go. Just let her go. It will work out better for you in the long run. Trust me.
Yeah, you'll get life instead of the death penalty.
Just let her go. Take her to a park. Take her to hospital.
Okay, here we go. Hold on. And then we'll move on from sheriff. Okay. And you say it was the biggest poodle I've ever seen in my life.
We're finding Nancy.
And as this continues on, there is some feeling of, at least from some folks we hear from the public, of
it was the biggest poodle. It was a huge poodle. Huge poodle. They said, down, boy, down. I ran around a pole. It was such a big poodle. I said, wow, what a big poodle.
fatigue, right?
They said it was a standard poodle, but it wasn't standard. There was nothing standard about it. Everybody said it was a standard poodle, but I knew better. It wasn't standard at all.
This has gone on for weeks, and some people feel like we're no closer to solving this now than we were day one. Has anything changed?
Down boy. He didn't want to get down. He had Josh derangement syndrome. He wanted to bite me in the nuts.
Has the timeline been able to been tightened or altered at
We're not watching this whole thing with just the haters going to hate part.
all from what you shared a couple weeks ago? Do you feel closer?
Absolutely, I feel closer. I feel closer. You know why? Because in part from what you guys have done, you've gotten us the leads we need, and we probably need more. And I feel closer because the community's been behind us. And, you're going to have the haters, right? Haters are going to hate.
Dubs in the chat for haters gonna hate. Haters gonna hate. Yeah, my Biden is. I got hairy legs. Dubs in the chat, man. Haters gonna hate. Lovers gonna love.
That's okay. I also know, and I feel closer because the community's been behind us. And you know, you're gonna have the haters, right? Haters are gonna hate.
That's my favorite. Haters gonna hate, dude. Oh, how is a 70-something-year-old man gonna say haters gonna hate? Dude Gray saying you're the worst. The lab is the worst person in the world. Guy's a piece of shit. That's what he said about me.
That's okay. I also know there's a
Baller gonna ball. Haters gonna hate. That's right. Poodle's gonna chase, dude. Poodle's bite and chase. All right. One more time for the haters.
a lot of people. I feel closer because the community's been behind us. And, you know, you're going to have the haters, right?
It's a fact, dude. He's not wrong.
Haters are going to hate. That's okay. I also know there's a lot of people out there who support us and are watching for us and helping us solve this crime.
Haters going to hate, dude. Why are you hating on this guy? Me? Because I'm a hater. And that's what haters do. Haters gonna hate. I'm not really hating on him, but all right. Let me see. All right, let's see what Enton has to say. Yeah, because I'm having a good time. All right. What do you want me to do? Be boring? Sorry if you don't like my show. Really, truly.
Show. I really appreciate it. Please click to subscribe. I'm actually outside the Pima County Sheriff's Office right now. Just a little while ago, I wrapped up an interview with the sheriff. Got a lot of new information, some stuff about the cameras at Nancy's house. I knew that there were other Google Nest cameras, and I was wondering if they had the video yet from those, just like they did from the front, if the FBI was able to get it. He says no, that they're waiting on Google. He's going to explain that. Also, new information about the DNA testing. There was no match with CODIS. It's interesting that the FBI is telling us that, by the way. What does that actually mean? Could there be something going on behind the scenes? I've got my retired FBI friend who's going to kind of explain all of that. And then there was some action at Nancy Guthrie's house today that I have video of. Some of it a little perplexing. I'll get into all of it in this episode of Brian Enton Investigates. Hey guys, so I'm outside the Pima County Sheriff's Office, and again, I'm going to get to that interview with the sheriff in a second, but I wanted to give you all the latest updates from today. Some are pretty significant. First of all, when it comes to DNA, we learned that they put the DNA from the glove that was located about 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's house. They put the DNA into the FBI CODIS database, which is the database where all of the criminals, their DNA is entered into it. It's a massive federal database. So the DNA was finally entered in the CODIS database, and it came back without a match, which is obviously not good news. It's not really what anyone was hoping to hear. And I've also learned that other DNA from this case, from the Nancy Guthrie investigation that was entered into the CODIS database, has come back negative for match. So at this point, no match.
I don't really know what that means, but I for some reason I agree with you. Well, for Maca, if you hate me, you can frig right off. Okay, if you don't donate, then you have nothing to say.
Matches in CODIS, although I'm told there's still more DNA that they plan to enter into the database. We've also confirmed that they have started the IgG DNA process, which is the investigative genetic genealogy. And if that sounds familiar, that's because that is one of the big things that cracked the Bryan Kohberger case in Idaho, the IgG. And that is essentially when they take the DNA that they have and they put it into these genetic genealogy databases, which is, and if you look back, I've done a couple of episodes on this. This is like when you do those tests at home to get your genealogy and find out who your relatives are and what your background is. They have access to some of those databases, and then they can try to figure out if they can find a match that way. It could be someone's second or third cousin or an aunt or uncle, and then they can try to back into who the suspect is that way. So we suspected they were going to use that technology, and now we've confirmed that they are officially trying the IgG method, although that takes more time. That could take weeks, that could take months. It's not like just traditional DNA comparisons. So we may not have an update on that front anytime soon. I was outside Nancy Guthrie's house for most of the day. There were a couple of interesting things that happened. First of all, there was a pickup truck and a Subaru that showed up, and the sheriff actually let them through onto the driveway. I saw at least one man, there were two men, but I saw one man get out. He had almost like a briefcase, went around the back of the house. They went inside the house, which is the first time I've seen anyone non-law enforcement go in the house that I can remember. I don't know who they were. Some people were speculating that maybe it was a locksmith. I don't know if it was someone that the family sent over to get something from inside, but they were inside for several minutes. And again, law enforcement let them in, and then they left. So that don't really have much of an explanation for that, but it was kind of interesting. There was also some detectives at Nancy Guthrie's neighbor's house, and they were inspecting what appeared to be like a ring camera there with some floodlights. And the sheriff's office later confirmed that there were detectives in the area, but didn't say exactly what they were doing. I want to play for you my interview with Chris Nanos, the Pima County Sheriff. I was able to meet up with him today in his office. He did a lot of media interviews. We were only given 10 minutes. So, I was only able to ask so many questions. So if you're wondering why I didn't get to more, they basically cut me off at the end. It started off with him telling me, it's kind of awkward for a second. He said, you have questions for me, and this was before the camera started rolling. You have questions for me and I have questions for you. And he kind of brought up some of my coverage and some of the people who I've interviewed who have had not such great things to say about about him. And he was going to address some of those things at the end of the interview, but then we ran out of time because the person who was in charge, like the media sort of handler, was said, oh no, 10 minutes is up, you're done. So this is really all the time that I had. But I think what was most interesting is what he said. To me, what was most
Everybody else got more time than him.
interesting is what he said about the Google Nest cameras, and they're still trying to get more video. So this is my interview with the sheriff. Thank you for doing this, Sheriff. Appreciate it very much. I know that you and the FBI were able to get those surveillance photos off the camera in the front of the house.
Yeah.
Any progress on the other cameras? Can you do the same thing?
Boy, I'm hopeful. Here's what happened there. So we, of course, that camera we don't have, right? It was taken, removed from the scene, but we knew it existed, and we asked, I think it's Google Nest, Google, hey, what can you do with this? And we gave them the other cameras and asked the same. And they said, well, there's not a subscription here. And it is hard because it overwrites itself, right? Every, I don't know how many hours, maybe it's every 36 or 72, whatever it is. But you know what, Sheriff, we'll try. Thank you. Away they went. They came back with this. And I'm going to try to explain this as a simple man that I am would. They explained it, it's like peeling paint. You have images over images over images, and you want to get to that 8th layer or the 6th layer, and you got to peel back.
He might be a better man than me because I wouldn't have give Brian an interview after he interviewed my op.
Very easily, because you might destroy the layer you wanted. So they were able to do that. I said, oh, this is really, that piece of evidence. Oh, they kept it 10 days. No, we all sat here right in our command post with the FBI and went, this is really great stuff. We need this out there. So I don't know that it was here more than 2 hours, and it's only because we had to do some cutting of the way they sent it to us and prepare it to get out to the media, and had to check with Washington, all those things that the FBI had to do as well. And we got it out probably less than 2 hours. And it generated, in that first hour for us, just alone here at the department, almost 5,000 tips. So it's a great piece of evidence. So there's other cameras. Your question, will we get more? We've asked the Google, hey guys, can you do this? And they said the very same thing. Sheriff, we don't think we can get anything, but we'll try. And that's all we're hopeful.
And so as of now, it's still just the video from the front?
Yes.
Okay. Savannah Guthrie, Nancy's obviously very famous, loved around the country. Is this really random, or do you think someone may have had, like, you know, a grievance against Savannah? Have you been able to sort that out at all?
You know, well, yeah. Anything's possible, right? I mean, there was talk, well, this was a burglary gone bad. This was that. Those things have never come out of this office because we recognize that anything is possible, and we'll allow that evidence to show us what it is. The time to ask that question, motive, is when we actually know who's done it.
He does, but it sounds like they had a sort of a little contentious talk before the interview started.
Yes. And so,
yeah,
I get the speculation, but yeah, for me, I just looked at it and said from day one that Nancy.
Thank you for supporting the channel. We're halfway to halfway of our goal. I don't know why I have to bring it up all the time.
Was removed from her home against her will. We need to find her.
I think.
I know your deputies, detectives are working around the clock. I mean, we see them, you know. How long can this go on for in terms of the investigation at this level?
Because of the media, really, and that's a good thing, right? Because of the media, we've generated so many leads. I know last Wednesday we had 18,000 leads. The FBI had 14. So you're talking over 30,000. We're probably closer to 40 or 50,000. As long as those leads keep coming, we'll keep at it.
I know you've said you can't, for the investigative reasons, talk about.
If you donate 5 memberships, I'll donate $500 to a charity of your choice.
What you found in the house. But is there a lot in the house that you're not able to say? I mean, is there a lot of evidence we don't know about in terms of this being a crime?
No, again, you're asking me.
I will not donate $500, sorry.
Something that I can't talk about. I will tell you this. We removed some biological evidence, prints, DNA, whatever. All of that was removed and sent to the lab. We removed physical evidence, computers, phones, everything.
No,
anything we could. And that's...
Since this is a sincere question, I will answer it. I don't. Not in the least.
Submitted to another lab. That was given to the FBI.
Because there are even bigger reporters like Michael Wolff. Michael Wolff, if you know who that is, I think he's like Michael Polpak, those kind of guys. Those are the kind of guys that they go after.
And why do we give it to the FBI? Because we know that they're very good at some of that stuff. And so we share with them that. Why did we give ours to our lab? Because it's what we've done for years, and our lab's always done well. In fact, we've used the FBI before. They're very good at solving things and doing things. But the FBI, not unlike our Department of Public Safety in Phoenix, they have a lab. They could have been used. But we look at it as this. If I use, for example, a state lab, DPS, or the federal lab, Quantico, you have to understand they have others using those labs too. And so it really puts a lot of strain on them to prioritize those cases and do what they can with them, where if I have my own lab or a contract lab, it allows me easier access to those cases that I think are important to us. And I'm not talking this case, I'm just talking cases in general. We could build a lab, but that's pretty expensive too. We just found that this lab we use is very good. Were they in Florida at the time? I have no idea. But I know that in today's world of technology, reports are generated and sent out in the flash of an eye. What we need to know is when we send something to a lab, can we get it back to us quickly? Can we have a rush order, if you will? Well, sometimes I want this now, but the FBI may say, well, we understand that, but New York has a crime, LA has a crime, so it's it's not against the labs. And so when this piece of evidence, we did what we normally do, we sent it to the lab, and we did that scene. Then we went and did another scene.
Brian, you got to cut him off, dude. You got to be like, hey, I don't want to talk about this freaking lab anymore.
When we did a search warrant out in Rio Rico, so all of that was gone. Now we find a glove. The FBI says, oh, we can send it to Quantico. And I said, well, you know what? Let's keep it all in one place. Let's just send it all to our lab. No, it's not like, no, FBI's got a bad lab, or no, the Sheriff's Department uses DNL, they're a bad lab. No, it is about keeping your evidence
Nanos, enough with the labs.
together in one spot. And when that report comes
Move it along.
out, it goes to both agencies. It just made sense. In fact, all of this conversation I had with you, when they said, oh, the sheriff blocked evidence, this conversation I had with the FBI lasted probably a minute and a half, and they said, makes sense, Sheriff. And it was done. There's no blocking evidence or just crazy.
Let me ask you. Okay, we've seen.
What'd she say? Hold on.
The
answer. Just crazy.
Let me ask you.
Two more questions. Damn.
Okay, we've seen the photos from the surveillance camera in the front of the man. Do you think there could be a second suspect?
You saw what I saw. We know he is a bad dude. He's who we want. Is there somebody else working with him? I don't know that. We'll know it when we find him.
The TMZ letters. I've lost count of how many they've received. TMZ, they've been receiving these letters claiming that it's from someone involved.
So, yeah, the ransoms type things or those kinds of letters.
And I know FBI is investigating that part, right?
Correct.
But do you think they're legit? Because it seems like every day they're on TV with a new letter.
Again, you want to go to your experts, right? It would be irresponsible for me to give my opinion on something that we've given to the FBI to look into. That's their bailiwick. We'll let them handle that.
In the search warrants, we saw the one in Rio Rico, and then we saw the one close to, I think, 2 miles from Nancy's house on Friday night. Does that mean that you all believe the suspect could be close? Because it seems like the action we're seeing so far is right in the Tucson area.
So how those develop is this, and you may see it today. It may not be anything today. You may see 5 of them today. But what happens is this. We have 400 investigators out there from all agencies, not just in this valley, the 10 different law enforcement agencies, but some from Phoenix and FBI from across the country. And they're out there shaking down leads, 40-some thousand leads. Every morning they get up and they're working 24/7. So they start with a little lead and they're told, go check on this. And that lead develops. And as they move through it, it grows and grows like a snowball, just getting bigger and bigger, to a point where they go, you know what? I think we've developed a person of interest. I think we've got something here that maybe we need to go back and brief on. So they come back in and they talk to the command post who's there. U.S. attorney, county attorneys, different law people behind different areas of law who sit back and discuss it and say, you know what, maybe there's enough here for a search warrant. Maybe we got to get petition for physical characteristics. Maybe that characteristic is a photo. Maybe it's buckle sales, maybe it's fingerprint, whatever it is. And we present it to a judge. And a judge says, yeah, I think there's enough. He signs it. That's how that snowballs. And everybody's energetic and they're so enthused. I wish you could see the face of the young men and women out there who are working these and all the energy, because it's what happens in investigations, particularly bigger investigations, where they're so excited, probably like you are. We've got a good lead, and then it falls through. It's not the person. Nancy's not at that house. But that's part of the ebbs and flows of an investigation. You're going to have those highs and lows. So for me, that's why it's important that I dispel some of the things that are out there so my team knows that, no. They're a solid team. This is a team who solves crime every day. They are my experts. I would be silly to not listen to them. When they tell me, we spent 20-some hours at this scene. We processed this scene. I'm taking their word that they're good. I don't need to hear from some pundit out there who's never done a crime scene. I don't need to hear from somebody who's never done a criminal investigation. I've got experts. That's who I choose to listen to.
Yeah, but here's the big question. Does he drink Miralax before he goes to bed?
Just like the noise in the background. The critics who want to run for office, go ahead, go do that stuff. I just want to find Nancy. I want my team focused every morning. When they hit that low, that they know that they have someone who believes in them and their work. They're going to do it. I have 100% faith they will solve this case. If you're the guy, if you're that monster, you should be worried. You should let her go. Just let her go.
Are you getting closer?
I think we are. I think we are. But I have to have that belief, right? I have to have that faith. Every day, we'll keep at it. We ain't quitting.
Appreciate the sheriff for making the time to talk with me. Again, I know he's done a lot of media interviews, and I was glad that I was able to get one of them today, and that was on News Nation, of course. And hopefully I'll get more opportunities to talk to him in the future, because like I told him, you know, there were some things that he didn't like about some of my reporting, and, you know, I always want to get both sides, so I'm happy to have him respond to what some people are saying about, you know, being critical of his sort of the way he's been handling the case. And, you know, I always like to get both sides, so hopefully I'll get more opportunities to interview him. I want to go.
Well, he did say that they found weapons of mass destruction or biological weapons, and then he changed it to biological evidence.
Go back to what I was telling you guys about the DNA and the fact that the FBI says that there were no links in CODIS. What I found particularly interesting about that is that the FBI told us that. I mean, why would they give us a small update like that? Why would they need to tell the public and the media that there were no specific links in CODIS? I went to my friend, retired FBI agent Steve Moore, to talk to him about that and some of the other updates that came today in the case. I'm joined now by Steve Moore, retired FBI agent. It's nice to see you, Steve. It's always good to chat with you. First of all, I wanted to ask you, the sheriff is now saying that they put the DNA from the gloves that were found about 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's house into the CODIS system finally, and that there was no match, and that all of the DNA they put in so far, apparently there have been no matches. What do you make of that? Does that surprise you? I mean, because it seems like bad news.
Well, it doesn't, excuse me, it doesn't surprise me. It disappoints me a little bit, but CODIS, is kind of a new thing, relatively. I mean, it's not like fingerprints that have been around for, over 100 years. So what the problem is that every state, like when you get arrested, when a person gets arrested, you've seen it. It's standard. They fingerprint, they send it off. Everybody's got fingerprints in there. You get it for passports. Everybody's got fingerprints on file. Hardly anybody's got DNA on file. And right now, every arrestee in every 50 state, or every one of the 50 states, do not immediately get put in CODIS. And so, there are crimes in all of the 50 states for which you will get your DNA popped in the CODIS database, but only on conviction for some of them. Although Arizona, as soon as you're arrested for a felony, if to my understanding that they will get a DNA swab with your fingerprinting and send it to CODIS.
So these would just be people who have been arrested who are in this database?
Predominantly. I mean, DNA is not something that they use for any other purpose. Like fingerprints, they use to identify you for passports or things like that, or even sometimes just a document and getting it certified. So DNA is only a criminal database at this point.
So you remember, Steve, that yesterday the sheriff put out this statement, vehemently denying that the Guthries had anything to do with, they were cleared. He used the word cleared, the siblings and their spouses. So they put out another statement today where they talked about this CODIS development, but then they also included a section about the Guthrie family. And they said, In criminal investigations, evidence is examined to either build a case or clear individuals. At this point in the investigation, the Guthrie family, including siblings and spouses, has not been identified as suspects. What I thought was interesting is they're saying at this point in the investigation, where yesterday they were just more vague. What do you make in general of the sheriff, clearly saying that they've been cleared? Is that unusual?
Yeah, it's very unusual, and probably had to do a lot with social media, where people are actually going out there and naming names and doing stuff like that. What's interesting to me is he said they were cleared, and then they had to walk that back a little bit and say they're not suspects at this time. When you say somebody is cleared, first of all, you have to know a lot about the crime.
I think that you have to be. That's a great question. TV charge in CODIS. No, you do not always have to be convicted to be in CODIS. Many state and federal authorities now require DNA collection upon arrest. So you don't have to be convicted, but it says many states and federal authorities now require DNA collection upon arrest for certain felonies, even before conviction occurs. So, yeah.
It's kind of like, say, if you had a crime and you didn't know the actual time of the crime, then anybody's alibi is useless to you. So you can't say, oh, they're cleared by their alibi. In the same way with this case, even though we know time, we don't know a lot more case, at least the public doesn't. So I couldn't understand how they had enough information to clear them. Now, if you tell me that right now they're not suspects, that I can understand. Excuse me, I'm sorry. But that doesn't mean technically that they couldn't be down the road. I think what the sheriff is saying is that he doesn't believe they had anything to do with this, and that's as close as he can come to clearing them functionally.
And I want to go back. There's something else I thought of with CODIS that I wanted to ask you about that I was thinking of you earlier. Is it unusual that the FBI is giving these updates saying, oh, we tested it and it's not in CODIS? Like would they normally be giving us such a specific update? And then the thing it made me think of is, could it mean that they are closing in on someone and they don't want that person to realize that?
Yeah, that's a very, very good possibility. And yes, it is highly unusual. Those are the kind of that's the kind of information that you, instead of sending to the public, you post up to your supervisor and say, giving him updates on the case daily. For the FBI to be doing this is extraordinary, in my opinion. And two potential reasons for this is, one, as we've discussed before, the sheriff has a bigger dog in this fight than the FBI does. This is his community. He has to live here. He has to get reelected here. And so he may have negotiated some kind of agreement where the FBI or he could provide more information. But on the other hand, society has changed since I joined the FBI and since I retired. Things are rapidly moving into the point where everybody has, as I said on one of the other broadcasts.
Thank you, One Big Doodle. And your name really reminded me of One Big Poodle, the one that I got chased by today. It wasn't as terrifying as the time I was chased by a wild turkey, but I appreciate your super sticker. Thank you.
Their own home version of the game, and they are all playing and they are all talking to each other about it. And the world now, in absence of information, will create reality. And so I think what the FBI is trying to do is keep the dust down a little bit on that. And I think what you're seeing here, and go back in 10 years, tell me if I'm wrong. But I think this is a change, a sea change in law enforcement where you can't just ignore the public and do your job anymore because they're not patient enough to wait for it.
We confirmed yesterday, Steve, that the FBI was going to gun stores in Tucson with 40 names and also 40 photos and asking employees to run the name, see if they had done any business there and if they recognized the people. And the first thing I thought of was like, wow, 40 names. Does that mean that those are 40 people who they think could be involved?
Yeah, well, it could be that 2 or 3 of them are stiffed in there and they know it's not those persons. You don't want to give somebody a set of photos and they can't help but pick somebody who is guilty of something. So occasionally you will put somebody in there in photos that is not involved, but usually that's for photo IDs. It could be that there are 40, and it goes back to what I've been. The FBI has not been sitting around the phone saying, I can't wait for that tip to come in. Pick up the phone every time it rings. No, the FBI is investigating this case with what they've got. And while the number 40 is a big number and kind of surprises me, I wouldn't have blinked at 10 to 20. So this
Auburn girl, Cam Newton fan, thank you so much for your support for the channel. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Tells me that there's a lot of work going on and that there are 40 people right now, potentially, who they have not been able to clear, that they have not been able to determine are not involved and have something about them or their actions that gives the FBI pause.
You know what?
Anything I'm missing, Allison, that's new over the last day?
Yes, we haven't had them clear any of the suspects, any of the people that were detained. We just had them released. We also have them looking for a gun. So that's another lead. It looks like there's a lot more going on. I think you should say something about that because it's sounding like there isn't, but there is a lot more going on than I think that we even know. I mean, what you reported yesterday was totally new, but clearly that gun, they looked at the gun. They're probably looking at the holster too. Let Steve address like what leads we're looking at, so we have just sort of a list.
Yeah, I mean, what other leads do you think that they're looking at right now? I mean, we obviously know that they were going to the gun stores. I mean, do you think the backpack they're still trying to track down? Would it be the holster? Like, what else comes to mind for you?
I have no friggin' idea. In your Trump voice, other channels weak, very weak, but this coverage strong, powerful, consistent. Like you wouldn't believe. Some say it's the greatest case coverage they've ever seen. I'd say that. I'd say that. Thank you.
Holster, all the clothes he was wearing, and everything I've seen so far, every piece of clothing that's been identified has been something that's sold at Walmart. So I think right now, they're going to the gun stores with the information that they have on the gun that they believe he was carrying. And at the same time, I'd be surprised if there wasn't 10 agents in Bentonville, Arkansas, with their own little office going through all the digital sales records of Walmart to find one time where 3 or 4 of these, the backpack, the holster, the coat, were purchased all at once. And once they find that, it's going to move fast.
And the sheriff said today clearly that the federal search warrant from Friday night, those people were detained. There were no arrests. They've all been released. But he said the investigation is ongoing. What do you think is happening behind the scenes still in relation to that?
Am I the monkey?
They haven't told us why they hit that place, but the fact that they hit it with an evidence response team means to me that it was that they believed that location was involved in the crime. Whether or not it is or is not, they have not discussed, but they are not saying that it's not, which is significant. When you go to somebody's house and people know the address, and people online are making posting people's names and stuff like that, it would behoove the FBI to say this was not involved in the crime. We have determined that. They haven't said that, which
I don't think that. Look, I mean, this is just me speculating, but Mexico. So if you take somebody to Mexico for ransom, how are you going to get them back into the United States without getting caught? You just go and drop her off at the border? I mean, I guess you could, but don't you think that people would sort of notice something like that? We got bad hombres.
Leads me to believe that there was something that they were searching for, and they either found it or they are not convinced that it's not going to be there.
There's also a Range Rover that they towed away, which I guess they're still processing at this point.
Yeah, and if they're still processing that 3 or 4 days later, it's either they're processing the heck out of that thing and tearing it apart, or they found what they wanted.
But the family's ruled out. Tomorrow they'll be ruled in. They're ruled out. In, out, up, down, left, right, black, white, green, yellow.
They're not going to release that back to the people who owned it. I think the fact that they still have that is significant. And if they don't,
and what way is that Rusty McShackleford and Chloe? I don't think people that kidnap people on private jets need money.
Let it go in the next few days. I think we can assume that that's now evidence. And if they know a car,
it's true.
They've got just about everything. I would say that with all the evidence coming together, I think we're getting so close. I thought the glove itself was kind of a Hail Mary, and I don't think that's. I'm not surprised that hasn't come through for them, but I don't think they're depending on that. I think if that was their number one piece of evidence, they wouldn't have talked about it publicly.
As always, I really appreciate Steve for making the time to talk to me. And I appreciate you guys for watching. It's kind of been a long day today. I had the interview scheduled with the sheriff, then they canceled. And I kind of was working on some other things. And then later in the day, they said, oh, no, you can actually do the interview with the sheriff. So I had to kind of rush back over here.
Wait, they first told him no?
But again, I'm glad I got that opportunity. And I'll be sure to stay on top of everything. I'm not sure what to plan for tomorrow. But if I seem a lot of it, it's because, again, I think today was just a day.
Hey, what happened to Ryan Eats Crayons? What was it? Or Window Licker Ryan? I liked him. Window Licking Ryan. Go! Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
But I will keep you guys posted. Again, I appreciate you guys for following along, for subscribing, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Okay, hold on. Oh, shoot. What the hell? Okay, well, so if you are kidnapping, you leave a ransom note. If it's a burglary, you come with an empty backpack and take things. I don't think you contact TMZ either. That's true. Well, it is lab, and we are after dark at the moment.
Andrew Black, you and I have probably never seen a case with the components that this one has. And it now has an added unusual feature.
What did Janet say? I don't think Janet says, I don't think kidnapping was the original plan. I think she was accidentally harmed in the course of some attempt at robbing or extortion. I think that's what I think too. I do. I truly, truly do. But of course I'm wrong. Thanks for the laughs and thoughtful takes, Josh. Always a good mix here. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's very kind of you.
The sheriff, while Nancy Guthrie is still very much in the wind, clears the entire family. What do you make of that?
Well, the Guthries have been through a lot, and I think it's a good thing for them, obviously. What concerns
We will I'll play Megyn Kelly here in a second.
me is the messaging. It's a unilateral message coming from the sheriff's department. The FBI and the sheriff's department should be lockstep in messaging. The FBI should be leading the messaging, should be leading the press conferences, should be leading the media relations. The executives in the FBI are trained with media and reporters on how to message properly, coherently. And the wording of the message from the sheriff's department was a little peculiar, begging the media to honor their.
But here's the thing, and I don't mean to butt into the middle of your conversation. Kung Fu Panda 1705. Shout out Rusty Mick Shackleford. I don't know why I like saying that name. I just do. But we keep saying that things weren't taken, and we don't actually know. Well, if they killed her, then her body would have evidence on it, meaning it would have possible DNA, cause of death. It would have, or the way that she was killed, a possible murder weapon. No body, no evidence for the body. That's why people get rid of bodies when they kill people. Bingo.
Profession, and to report with compassion and professionalism. I think a lot of the reporting has been handled that way. So I thought it was really odd language. I think it would have been better if
they took her body, but I mean, yeah, they got rid of her body. That's not really, I mean, that's what I think.
And the sheriff's department collaborate in any messaging going forward.
By the way, I hope I'm completely wrong, and I hope that she's alive and well. I swear. I don't care about being wrong.
Forward.
Right, but look, we
trust me.
Know what he was talking about, right? Casey, we now have a new layer of speculation with all of these desperate digital media folks who live off clickbait, and they've been running every kind of theory they can.
Nah, not really. Not really. Every time I think about that, that they should have found her body by now, I always think of the Kaylee Casey Anthony case. They should have found her body much sooner than they did as well. But it took them 9 friggin' months to find her less than a mile from her house. Equisearch, bounty hunters, grid searches, people walking lockstep. They walked right over her. She was off to the side of the road. That shit should have been over in 3 days.
And a lot of it is to the disadvantage of the Guthrie family, and some of the people even used to work with Savannah Guthrie. So
it is so hard to find bodies. That's what I'm telling you. That's why when they find criminals, they have to make these deals with criminals because they can't find who they're looking for. They can't find them. So criminals have to walk people right out to, and sometimes it's on the side of the road under a bush. Yeah, it was like a meter maid that found her. He was taking a leak and he saw a bag with,
the kind of
remains in it.
blind dogging on it even more disgusting. And I think that's what motivated the sheriff's moment. Now, Casey, you and I are not surprised that the glove that
Roy Crunk was his name, I believe.
they found did wind up being connected and yielding that DNA. What do you make of what's next for them? And what level of confidence do you have in this list of 40 names and where that may be derived from?
Yeah.
Okay, so we weren't surprised that there was not an immediate match. I mean, this isn't like Criminal Minds where everything gets solved in 43 minutes. But they have DNA. They have DNA from the glove and they have DNA from inside the house. It does not appear to be the same DNA, but this is great. And just because it's not in CODIS, because CODIS has a very narrow parameter for what DNA it's going to have submitted to it. Usually you have to be arrested and convicted of a felony, a murder, a sexual assault, like a rape.
Eric says, what is the possibility she could have been driven to Mexico so far-fetched? Cartels don't let freelancers operate in their territory, though. It's not far-fetched, but well, to me, it seems improbable. That's what I mean. It just seems improbable. And, especially if it was for a ransom, you're not going to you're not going to cross the border with her. I mean, are you? I don't know. I've never taken anybody for ransom. Nor would I ever. I hate using the microwave.
Unless you're a missing person or they even have DNA from dead bodies. But the point is, just because this person has not been convicted of a felony before doesn't mean he's not out there and we can't still get his DNA eventually. The big game right now, and we are in it for the long haul, is to narrow down the suspect pool. And this is a long slog, but it's just how it works. You get those names from the Walmart data bank, people who have purchased this backpack, and then you start going around and shoes on the pavement. Ask the gun shop owners, some of whom don't watch TV and don't know anything about Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. Does this guy look familiar to you? Do you have any of these names in your data bank of people who purchased guns? Oh, you do? Let's take a look at that driver's license. I mean, this is how it's done. So I'm not hopeless at all. This is just the beginning of a long investigative process.
I agree with that. Not sure if you're familiar, followed this case, but I have to ask, are you familiar with the Faust case? Is that the one where he killed he was found guilty of killing the student? I am not that familiar with the case. I know a bit about it, and I know that he was found guilty. But what do you think, he got wrongfully convicted? Is that what you're saying, or?
And we will, I have no doubt, figure out who that suspect on the porch is. It may just take a while.
So, Andrew, in terms of what we know about time, how often in your experience has someone taken someone for profit and not come forth in an insistent way with a demand like this?
Not in my career. I've been involved in numerous kidnappings in my career, and it's a business transaction. The individuals have kidnapped someone, they're holding them for ransom, and they have a plan to make contact with the family or law enforcement right away. This is like no kidnapping case that I have seen.
One other quick thing, the gun. I haven't studied the video, but I am told by people on the ground there that, yeah, they saw the weapon, they identified what kind of weapon it is, and that's where they got the 40 names, because they closed it into a pretty tight circle of who sells it and where. Does that make sense to you that they're able to get enough identification detail from what they see in this video to make that kind of ask?
Yes, I think it's something about the gun or the holster, because they identified where the holster was manufactured and sold. So between the type of gun and the holster, that could be driving this latest series of investigations.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our...
Oh my God, Fredo. Fredo. Let's see. Where did Megyn Kelly call him Fredo? Oh, here we go. I don't know if I'm allowed to play or not, but I'll do it anyway. No, Cuomo's brother's the one with the nip rings.
Here is what we got.
So this says Megyn Kelly fires back at Fredo Cuomo and brings facts on sheriff's past Guthrie family comments. Oh, this should be interesting.
Sheriff, according to Matt Finn of Fox News, Matt reports, quote, I just asked Sheriff Nanos if DNA helped clear the Guthrie family from being suspects. He says, quote, not going there. They are victims, and I will not stand quiet when they are re-victimized. It is not just my duty. It is every cop's duty to stand up and be the voice for victims.
That's good. That's
what?
You don't need to see me.
Enter Tom Winter of NBC News, who reports it explicitly, quote, there is no indication this is the result of any new evidence.
Fredo.
No indication this is a result of any new evidence whatsoever. So what happened here quite clearly is the sheriff decided, probably after a phone call from the family, he says he mostly speaks to Savannah, to just say nobody there is a suspect anymore. When 24 hours earlier, he said no one's been cleared. And that's what we were told by our federal law enforcement source too.
Wow.
No one has been cleared. But magically, over the course of 24 hours, because it's his duty to stand up and be the voice for the victims and will not stand quiet when they are re-victimized, the sheriff finds the wherewithal to say, just no one's a suspect in the family. Okay, maybe that's true. Maybe they're not the prime suspects now. Maybe they're moving away from the family, as NBC reported yesterday. But it's diametrically opposed to what both the sheriff said 24 hours earlier and what my sources said within hours of our reporting yesterday. Okay, so something's off. And we don't do feelings in a criminal investigation. We don't do feelings. We do facts. Okay, that's how it's supposed to work. And the sheriff should know better. It's actually quite interesting now because I'll show you what the douchebag Chris Cuomo is saying. In fact, let's just play it now. It's SOT 52. He's very upset that Ashley Banfield and yours truly have raised questions about the brother-in-law. Ashley's reporting, and based on Ashley's reporting, we've asked questions on this program. And here's Fredo Cuomo. On his
Fredo Cuomo. She chose violence today.
Little known of show on News Nation, which has less viewers than I have fingers. And here's Fredo Cuomo on his little known of show on News Nation, which has less viewers than I have fingers.
Now, look, I've never heard law enforcement make this kind of a statement during an investigation, and I'm not calling for the family to be removed from suspicion. The job is the job, right? But the job is also, you don't speculate just because you don't care that you're destroying this family, just because it may get you some clicks. But I want to correct something the sheriff said. It's not the media. No one who pays attention to the law or any standard of decency is doing this. What these digital people are doing. It's the digital media. It's those denizens. It's people who get paid for clicks and rage bait. All right? These fugazi, sloppy influencers and would-be sleuths.
Fugazi.
Right? The truth about whether Nancy Guthrie's family is under scrutiny. She doesn't know a damn thing. The reason the cops are going back to the home is because the
There's a
police
picture of
think
me.
she did it. Where'd she get that? Bullshit. The video messages from the family are like a movie. It's from Silence of the Lambs. Why are they doing that?
Okay. So let me tell you what Fredo is really upset
Oh, more Fredo talk.
about. He has.
Doesn't she know that calling him Fredo is the same thing as calling him the N-word?
Fredo no Rado. That's his real problem.
Fredo no Rado.
Nobody watches his show on News Nation, and I mean nobody. And nobody watches his failed podcast either. Nobody watched his Sirius radio show. Nobody watched him on CNN. And therefore, he gets upset at anybody who does well, like our show, which is always one of the top 3 conservative podcasts in the nation. It's currently #1 on Apple. Fredo doesn't like that, okay? Because as I say, Fredo no Rado. So he gets upset and he gets jealous. Sometimes in the past on this show, we've called out Fredo for his terrible behavior, for his bad ratings, for his lies about bumping into people who just happen to be listening to his podcast, because literally nobody does. And Fredo can't take criticism.
Fredo is the dumb younger brother on The Godfather. And it's when, and basically they're saying that he's the dumb brother, younger brother of Governor Nipple Rings.
And I'll tell you something I've never told before. Fredo actually called my lawyer, who he happened to use briefly on a legal matter, and begged the lawyer to get me to stop mentioning him. He didn't want me to attack him because it hurt his little feelings. So now Fredo sees an opportunity to attack yours truly because, of course, we're doing well with this story too, as we do when we do other news, which Fredo can't relate to. So Fredo's upset, and Fredo's trying to play the protector of the Guthrie family. Meanwhile, there are a few in news who have done.
Some guy called him Fredo it was like at a restaurant. There's a video of it, and he got in the guy's face, and he was like, calling me that is like calling me the N-word. And then he said, I will wreck your shit. He said that to him. He told him that.
More for the Guthrie family than this show. We have covered this story extensively since it broke.
It's a major insult.
Because Fredo doesn't understand, but I too am a news woman like Savannah. I too worked at the Today Show like Savannah Guthrie. I too have been the victim of a deranged stalker, which may be one of the possibilities here. Something Fredo doesn't realize we've covered extensively as well on this program. I too know Ashley Banfield extremely well. And she's had extremely solid reporting for 20 years in the crime and other fields as well. And so when she tells me she's got a solid source, I take her very seriously. And I also saw this matter being discussed. Guess where else? On News Nation, all around Fredo, by Elizabeth Vargas, by Jesse Webb.
None of this stuff is new between people with radio shows and podcasts and anything like that. None of this is new. This shit's been going on forever, time immemorial. I mean, it's pretty standard. It's just that usually major news networks don't do it. But now that these people are like very independent, they have independent shows, it makes a little bit more sense that they're doing it. I mean, it's just common. It really is.
Weber, Dan Abrams, who had the show right before Chris Cuomo for years, did a long segment on it with Ashley Banfield. It's all over Fox News. Jesse Water.
They take shots at each other's ratings, their coverage, or it's just.
Sean Hannity, up and down the lineup, Laura Ingraham, all of them have discussed whether the brother-in-law had anything to do with it, because in an investigation like this, you don't rule out family because of feelings, because of your little feelings, Fredo. Because I know you're in the business of protecting your family. Okay, we learned that firsthand during COVID when you put your loser brother on there and ran cover for him. And then ultimately, it was one of the things that led to your downfall because you didn't report honestly on his many, many problems during COVID or his many, many problems in grabbing women. And perhaps the reason you chose not to do that is because you yourself were accused of having a Me Too problem, as you well know. Okay. We had the senior executive producer on this program who talked all about you and your behavior in a bar with her. There was another woman at
Oh, no.
CNN who came forward against you, who did a whole podcast about the discomfort you made her feel. And then there was an anonymous woman who came forward who was the last straw before your firing. So you have a long history, I understand, of running cover for family. That's not what we do here on the actual news. We talk about what the police are doing, and we try to glean where the investigation is going.
Wow.
And we especially do that when we have a sheriff who repeatedly, when asked whether anyone has been ruled out, says, no one's been ruled out. Absolutely not. Not the family. No one. No one's been ruled out. Everyone remains a suspect until we have somebody in handcuffs. That's the way you do it. And you especially do it that way when the sheriff tows the car belonging to the sister and her husband and impounds it. You do that when the sheriff and the FBI continuously return to the sister and her husband's home, taking pictures in the middle of the night with the lights off, suggesting there may be something that they need to capture in the same hour of night as Nancy Guthrie went missing from her home. Go back time and time again to search the home and take belongings from the home and take photographs of the home, which is not the crime scene. So this is what a responsible reporter does. What they don't do is stage news. Okay, I need to help you, Fredo, because your little begging to my lawyer to get me to lay off of you didn't work. So this is what you're going to have to deal with. Actual facts.
Yes.
When you try to come for yours truly. This is what we don't do. We do cover facts. We do follow leads, but we don't stage news, Fredo. We do not pretend that we are.
I don't know whose side I'm on. Like, I'm not really on anybody's side. I don't really like either one of them that much. But I think it's funny that
walking out of the basement, our basement during COVID, haven't smelled the fresh air in months when everybody knows you were on the street in an altercation involving your bicycle weeks earlier. Remember this moment on CNN?
All right, here it is.
She's just taking a flamethrower to this whole thing.
The official re-entry from the basement, cleared by CDC, a little sweaty, just worked out, happens. This is what I've been dreaming of, literally for weeks. My wife, yeah, right. She was cleared by the CDC. She doesn't have fever. She doesn't have the symptoms anymore. More than 7 days from her quarantine. We're still a little scared, so I'll just give you one of these. 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 Bella has, of course, taken the video. This is the dream. This is for when we go outside. That's what we have to do now, all of us in New York. So anyway, I'm back.
His mask. It was all fake. He'd been on the street. It had made the New York Post, and he humiliated himself. And he continues to humiliate himself with his 4 viewers. Envy is a very unattractive thing.
4 viewers?
Fredo, work on that.
Well, I think she went a little far, but I mean, at least he was sort of talking about the case. Yeah, she that was pretty brutal, to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't know. That was crazy. I don't even know how to feel about it, to be honest. Yeah, I think it's funny too. I mean, but look, journalism died, years ago. Play this really quick.
Founder Harvey Levin is with us. You've been with us almost every night, Harvey. I know you well enough. I've known you for a long time. I'm sure we're a lot alike.
Oh yeah, I'm sure Sean Hannity and Harvey Levin have a lot in common.
find yourself waking up in the night, turning on the TV, expecting, hoping,
I think she said 4 viewers, not poor viewers.
we get the break in the case. Nancy Guthrie has been found. She will soon be reunited with her family. And
I just want to hear her. If you've been watching me nightly, I questioned why Harvey had been repeatedly talking about these notes that he kept getting. Somehow, some way, he has completely. And journalism did die.
I just can't.
Said we're not going to do it.
I never give up hope. It's not in my DNA.
Yeah, for sure.
By the way, there's videos of Sean Hannity ripping fat clouds of vape in between sets. It's hilarious.
We hope that. And we're cooperating with the FBI with some of the information we've received. But I will tell you, I talked to somebody who was right in the middle of this today, who said, we are gumshoe detectives at this point. We are just looking everywhere at every possible lead, but they don't have anything that they can pinpoint. They just don't have it yet.
That's what I think too.
But it is not for lack of trying.
When we go back to the 4 letters that you received at TMZ, and we got new details every time, but they all have the same Bitcoin address. Do you have any updates on those letters and your guarantee to the person writing them that you would pass on the information to the FBI and guarantee that they get the reward money, now up to $200,000?
Couple of things. It's not just the letters that we received from the person demanding money in return for information. It's also the ransom note we got. I will tell you, the FBI is very interested in both the ransom letter and these demand letters. In particular today, I mean, there was a lot of communication between us and the FBI. So they are really interested in this. That does not mean they've cracked it, because frankly, I don't think they have, but they are certainly trying. As for the person who wrote the note, Sean, we decided that we're not going to say if he sent us any more letters, because if we say we got a letter today and tomorrow you ask me and I say we got a letter tomorrow, and then the next day we say we're not going to talk about it, it tips off the kidnapper. We're essentially saying, well, that's the day he gave us the information. We're just not going to say anything. He can, if he wishes, give us the information. And as we promised, we will pass it on to the FBI. Then there's a record that he.
Guys, he's 75 years old.
He supplied that information.
Let's talk about the names that they brought to the gun ranges in the area.
So here's what we know. There were reports that there were around 40. I talked to a gun store owner today who said he felt it was more like 30 names that he was shown last week by an FBI agent. She showed him these names, wanted to find out if anybody had purchased a gun. One of these people had purchased a gun in the last year. What we found out from law enforcement sources is those names came from a list they compiled of people who purchased that polyester holster that this man was wearing. And so they went to Walmart and possibly other stores. And what they did was they compiled the list of people. And now they're trying to find out, did anybody also buy a semi-automatic handgun? Because that would be a hot lead for them if they can find somebody.
Wait, why did Deborah leave? What happened? I just saw what it just came up. She mad that I'm playing Fox News with Sean Hannity?
Who bought both the holster and a similar weapon. The person we spoke to, the gun store owner we spoke to, said he didn't see any matches, but they have been to other stores as well.
You know, as a gun owner, somebody who's had a pistol carry permit his entire adult life, I don't know a single gun owner that would use that type of holster. Let me ask you about the FBI and their database. The single sample from the house, the sample from the glove, were not the same person. Other DNA found in the home was from multiple people, will need to be separated before it can be tested. No match in the FBI's DNA database. And now they're going to use this genetic genealogy that caught other killers in the past. I want to go through that because you know a lot about it.
Well, let's start with the testing of the glove. First of all, we found out it's not the glove that the New York Post photographer took a picture of.
What do you mean?
It's a different glove that they took for testing. I know you've been talking about this, whether there's some kind of a squabble between the FBI and the sheriff. Here's what I found interesting. The sheriff today said that we sent the glove to Florida and it went into the CODIS system and there was no match. What we found out is that the FBI cannot put that DNA.
The only reason I'm playing it here is because TMZ doesn't let you play their stuff or how to play it straight from there. It has nothing to do with political affiliation. Now, if it was me that she got mad at, then that's fair game. Haters gonna hate, bro. What are you gonna do about it? It's nothing to do. You know what I mean? What are you gonna do? You can't do anything about it. Yes, Harvey is 74 years old. He's not a young dude.
In the CODIS system.
I mean, if I was 74, I wouldn't mind looking like that.
Without testing it in an FBI approved lab in the state in which the
Well, I mean, not looking like him, but
item was found, namely Arizona.
75, yeah.
So we found out that the FBI did its own testing at a lab in Arizona, and that's what went into the CODIS system. I
don't want to look like Harvey. I'm just saying that he does. For 75 years old, he doesn't look bad at all.
The person I spoke to could not understand why it would also go to Florida, because it could only go in the CODIS system if it emanated from a lab in Arizona. That said, it's not a match. So this genetic testing is really important because, there are ways that if it's a close match, but not identical, then, you can start looking at, is there a relative who shows up? And it turns out that they have an uncle who is 5'10", who lives in the Tucson area, and then suddenly you can kind of figure it out that way. Ancestry.com and 23andMe do not work with the FBI.
The reason I know that is because I watched a video one time that he's very proud of his workout regimen and his diet. And he did this video where he talked about where he wakes up at 4:30 in the morning and goes to the gym, and him and Geraldo are they're defying him and Geraldo and Stern and all those guys, they're obsessed with their longevity. So and I mean, I guess it pays off in the end. I guess, I don't know.
FBI, because of privacy rules, the FBI is using smaller companies, but it has worked in the past.
All right, Harvey Levin, thanks for all those updates.
One even more.
Oh God, that was scary too. So anyway, well, Mark Wahlberg's only in his 50s. What happened, Doris? Did I piss you off too? Okay. Fredo, unreal. Did we already see that? Okay, we saw where'd the search go from. Where does the search go from here? We already saw that. Harvey. I think that's pretty much. What about this? Oh, I thought. Shit. It's gonna be the.
figure caught on camera at her doorstep. So what does this mean for the desperate search for the 80?
Oh, yeah. I'll play band
for checking out my show. I really
actually.
Hey, everyone.
Let me see here.
I'm Ashley Banfield. This is Drop Dead Serious. Another hell of a day. So much stuff has been coming in that I just kind of had to collate it really quickly, get on air, and tell you the highlights or lowlights in the Nancy Guthrie investigation. For starters, another piece of my reporting has just borne out to be true, and that is that there are multiple Nest cameras. Look, we had all assumed so, but finally the sheriff actually just admitted it, that there are multiple Nest cameras. I had said that on day 3. And the bad news that comes with that is that apparently the video from inside the house in those other Nest cameras can't be extracted, at least not yet. I'm going to explain that coming up in just
Did you said that you couldn't, that they weren't giving you the option to gift memberships? I'm not really sure. I don't know what that is. I have no idea why. I saw that earlier.
a moment. Also, something really pissed me off today. You probably all saw this. There was a blue shirt that was left on Nancy Guthrie's front walk. And Michael Ruiz from Fox News saw it in his video as he walked up the front walk and then ultimately saw the blood drops at the front doorstep. And we all wondered, what is that? It was a blue LL Bean shirt. It seemed very, very confusing. And now finally we have the answer. It's Nancy's shirt. I'll explain why it was left out on the
Yeah, it's a big house, but I mean, she raised a family in there.
front walk, who was using it, and you know how this could have happened. That's coming up on this episode as well. The DNA test results are in, and it is a shit show again. They tested the glove from 2 miles away in CODIS and got the results, but they waited on the unknown male DNA from inside the home. Still waiting on that to go into CODIS. Why would they do that one first? That one was such a long shot, right? Side of the road, 2 miles away. I'll explain all of that. The sheriff's put out all these statements today, like just bullet points everywhere, and then cherry picked a few interviews here and there. And then he did something he should never, ever have done. He attacked Brian Enton. Fuck. Don't attack Brian Enton. That guy's reporting is impeccable. His
No, it's okay. It's fine. It's okay.
standards are impeccable.
I just don't know why.
The sheriff shit on News Nation too for a graphic that they put up last night, highlighting all the missteps of the sheriff's investigation. And I'm not going to lie, every single one of them was a misstep. And somehow the sheriff seems to have a problem with that and shit on Brian Enton. I'm going to show you this confrontation. And Brian's such a gentleman. He didn't even take the bait. And I'm going to play you a lot of the interview with a lot of this new information from the sheriff.
Oh, dude, well, Pam's been swearing all night. She's been dropping effers and effers, lefter, and righters.
Plus, just a lot more reporting from all sorts of the different sources. I like to say I watch the news so you don't have to, because if you had to watch all the sources and go through all of the, Twitter updates, etc., you'd lose your effing mind. Because half the time during the day, I lose my effing mind. All right, let's start here. This is
She's lost her effing mind.
important. And it might just be sort of like one of the biggest things that came out today, other than the DNA results from CODIS. I'll get to that in a sec. Brian Enton sat down with Sheriff Chris Nanos, Pima County, and they talked about cameras, plural. And for the first time, this sheriff finally confirmed the reporting that I had weeks ago on day 3, right? On day 3, I said that my source said there were multiple Nest cameras. The sheriff refused to confirm it. Well, he's doing it now. A couple other things that the sheriff said, they're getting close. Well, Jesus, I hope so. We're at day 17. He said they're getting close. He called the guy a monster and said, if you're out there, you should be scared. That I'm going to play for you in just a moment, as well as this absolute attack on Brian Enton and News Nation's reporting, which was absolutely uncalled for. And it almost feels to me like the sheriff actually doesn't know truly some of the things that Brian Enton has actually reported out from other law enforcement sources, like he didn't know that Savannah Guthrie and her siblings had put out an appeal to the alleged, ransom sender, the person behind the alleged ransom notes. He didn't know that either.
This has kind of been a wild night with the sheriff dropping a George Floyd bomb in the conversation.
So that may be a factor here. I don't know, but I'm going to get to that in a second.
I don't hate Banfield. I don't hate anybody, to be honest with you.
Fox News has this great
maybe a couple people.
Reporter Matt Finn, who's been doing killer work on the ground, and he was the one who got the update today on what the hell that blue shirt was on Nancy's front walk. Sheriff Nanos told him. Let me read for you. Sheriff Nanos tells me, quote, that shirt was used by United States Border Patrol K-9, and it was left behind by United States Border Patrol. Once we were notified, we retrieved it and verified it was left by USBP. And the reporting goes on to say U.S. Border Patrol, again, this is Matt Finn, U.S. Border Patrol tells Fox News' Matt Finn, its elite Borstar team used the shirt for a canine.
I can't play Nancy. I can't play Nancy Grace. She.
Cert.
I watched too much of Nancy Grace during the Kaylee Anthony and Casey Anthony and Scott Peterson. I really struggle with her sometimes because of how rude she is to her guests.
At Nancy Guthrie's home the night she disappeared. I don't know, was that the night? I guess the Monday night? I'm guessing that's what it means. And then again, when the FBI returned to the property, Sheriff Chris Nanos previously said the bright blue shirt was used by U.S. Border Patrol K-9 team. The shirt was left behind and then retrieved. Video showed it near the blood drops on her front step. Man, that just makes me so frustrated. So I take from that U.S. Border Patrol got the item of clothing from Nancy Guthrie that had her scent and then gave that to the dogs to try to track. And when their work was done, somebody left it there, just left it there. And it was there, I think, for a couple of days before it was finally retrieved. So there's that mystery. I don't think it's satisfactorily resolved, but it's at least resolved. Also, another mystery that I think a lot of you have been talking about.
Well, you must have not seen when she went off on McDonough. That wasn't fake.
And reporters have been trying to get to the bottom of. I think we're down to the bottom of it now. Michael Ruiz, actually, thank you, Michael, for doing your great work out there, Fox Digital. He reported that the sheriff is dispelling speculation about that business card. You probably saw that it was in Nancy Guthrie's door. They stuffed it in there. It was an agent with Arizona's Adult Protective Services, and the name was on there, the phone number, but like, what the hell? How many days after she disappeared did that suddenly show up? And what member of the government walked up on this crime scene and said, oh, here, it just left a lot of speculation. But this is what Sheriff Nanos told Michael Ruiz. The day she was reported missing, a neighbor called Adult Protective Services. They sent an investigator to check on her. This confirms the report was made after her suspected abduction, but we knew that. We knew that because when Brian Enton rolled up and shot his video on Monday, that card was not there. And this from the Arizona Republic. The Arizona Republic reporter saw the card on February 3rd while taking photographs at the front door. A reporter called the phone number listed. An agent said the card was left after Nancy Guthrie's disappearance, not before. It was left so that Nancy Guthrie, an older adult who lived alone, could contact the agency if she needed services once she returned home safely. The Republic did not report on the card at the time. I don't know why. That would have been helpful because there was a lot of speculation. People were going bananas saying, see, she's being beaten. No, this was just First of all, I can't believe that the person who left the card there wasn't watching the fucking news. 3 days into that story, it was the biggest story across the country, let alone in Tucson. Who the hell is this agent who just went up and said, call me? Okay, I'm done. All right. Let me go to some of the statements from the Pima County Sheriff's Department before I get to the real hot and bothered stuff, because he was so pissed off at Brian Enton. And now I'm so pissed off at the sheriff for being pissed off at Brian Enton, because nobody should be pissed off at Brian Enton. Before I get to the first statement from the Pima Sheriff's Department, and it's an important one because it talks about the DNA. The CODIS check came back. First off, quick note from my sponsor. Have you checked out Wild Grain yet? Because it is awesome. Because March with 30%, because I got a whole other one that came out later. So the DNA evidence from the gloves, we were all waiting on this, right? When are you going to let us know when it goes into CODIS and if there's a match? Yeah. So the DNA evidence from the gloves found approximately 2 miles from the house was submitted to a lab in Florida.
Correct.
And to CODIS this morning. There were no DNA hits in CODIS. That's a gut punch, right? At this point, there had been no confirmed CODIS matches in this investigation.
We know that. I commented this evening in the interview room that all these errors, like the shirt and other evidence, is going to cause a serious problem for a conviction. Yeah, this investigation is turning into a nightmare. That's what it feels like, at least. It feels like there's just no organization. It seems like the sheriff wants to give flippant interviews when he wants to. Who's in charge of what? It seems off. That's what I mean.
So my first question was, well, what about the DNA inside the house? Right? Does that mean you put it in there too? Because I would assume you would take the DNA from inside the house, this unknown male DNA that's not one of her direct, circle of friends or family. You would put that into CODIS first, because that's the important DNA. The glove 2 miles down the road. Okay, I got it. Yeah, it's important. But the house? Yeah.
So was there a glove in the house or wasn't there?
They didn't. It's not done yet. So the next statement is here. DNA, this process takes time. As mentioned above, the gloves submitted to CODIS produced no hits. There is additional DNA evidence that was found at the residence, and that is also being analyzed.
Yeah, he said mixed DNA too. Mixed DNA sounds ominous and kind of off-putting, really. I'm hungry.
Watch this space. We'll find out when that's going to come back from CODIS. Hopefully we'll get that. Maybe we won't. Maybe they will hold that. Maybe it's a strategy. I don't know. I'll give them that. But so far we're being said it's also being analyzed. And by the way, I want to tell you something. I think a lot of us thought that the glove from 2 miles down the road was that glove we've all been looking at in a photograph by the New York Post. But TMZ reported today that is not the glove.
Yes.
That was tested for DNA. It was a glove.
He said that the sheriff said mixed DNA.
But it was not the glove, which is curious because it looked a hell of a lot like.
And mixed DNA has to be, well, I didn't want to say that, but it seems odd, right? It seems very odd.
Like the glove on the perpetrator on the doorbell cam, but okay, TMZ reports that's not the glove. The sheriff goes on to say the focus is today Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker. Investigators are attempting to locate the device and are working with the manufacturer and other experts in the field to assist in that effort. These are the signal sniffers, right? I've been talking about this for a couple of days now. Brian Enton was reporting when the chopper was overhead, and he reported.
I'm sick of the sniffer talk.
Reported that these signal sniffers were like on the rudder, or at least somebody was hanging out of the chopper. And for lack of a better explanation, because it is really technical stuff, it's an electronic device that sends out a hello to a device like Nancy's pacemaker. Nancy's pacemaker is sending out advertisements. Hello, can anybody hear me? Can I connect with my phone? Can I connect with maybe the device that the Pima County Sheriff is using right now. It's doing what's called advertising, and it's doing it every couple seconds. So this device is reaching down to say, you damn right you can connect with me. Where the hell are you?
Okay, but where's the Brian Enton stuff?
Right? They were on drones, which might actually be able to get a handshake. The Sheriff's Department requested the deployment of what they call their Blue Fly, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi search technology in early February. Thank God. That's about the best thing I have heard. I don't know how early, but let's read on. They made that request to assist in the search for Nancy Guthrie, and units were used February 3rd.
15 minutes in? Okay.
February 3rd. That's Tuesday. That is early. That's the day I got all my breaking news from my source as well.
Thank you. The way they went. So the report comes out, it goes to both agencies.
I know that you and the FBI were able to get those surveillance photos off the camera in the front of the house.
Yeah.
Any progress on the other cameras? Can you do the same thing?
Boy, I'm hopeful. Here's what happened.
What happened?
There. So we, of course, that camera we don't have, right? It was taken, removed from the scene, but we knew it existed.
With that, Brian Enton got an interview, a sit down, actually spotted. Let me finish with the sheriff's statement first, though. Pima County Sheriff's Department headquarters, we asked media crews conducting live shots at the headquarters to please be mindful of trash and use the available waste bins appropriately. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. He already hates us reporters. Don't be throwing your garbage out around there. Okay, there's other stuff there about break room and all the rest. And then they repeat the same press briefings interview. Currently no press briefing scheduled, blah, blah, blah. So with that, Brian Enton got an interview, a sit down with Sheriff Chris Nanos today. And it was timed, okay, because I guess Chris Nanos was trying to get a couple of reporters in, and he was only given 10 minutes. And Brian knew when he came in that the sheriff wanted to ask him some questions too, because he said so. The sheriff greets him that way. Ugh. And so Brian said, okay, great. Well, let me get through all my investigative questions. And then his time was up.
Bro, pizza sounds so good right now.
But the sheriff decided to go overtime to just take the piss out of Brian Enton. So Brian sat down with the sheriff, and here are some of the highlights from the investigative aspect of the interview. Take a look.
Now we find a glove. FBI says, well, we can send it to Quantico. And I said, well, you know what? Let's keep it all in one place. Let's just send it all to our lab. No, it is about keeping your evidence together in one spot. And when that report comes out, it goes to both agencies.
I know that you and the FBI were able to get those surveillance photos off the camera in the front of the house.
Yeah.
Any progress on the other cameras? Can you do the same thing?
Boy, I'm hopeful. Here's what happened there. So we, of course, that camera we don't have, right? It was taken, removed from the scene, but we knew it existed, and we asked. I think it's.
Well, let me answer this question because it's not necessarily. No, that's not what it means, but it could. It could mean that, but not necessarily. But it does sound. It sounds weird.
Google asked Google, hey, what can you do with this? And we gave them the other cameras and asked the same. And they said, well, there's not a subscription here. And it is hard because it overwrites itself, right? I don't know how many hours, maybe it's every 36 or 72, whatever it is. But you know what, Sheriff, we'll try. Thank you.
I believe that it was a targeted robbery gone wrong. I believe she died during that, and they got rid of Nancy's body.
The way they went. So,
and before somebody jumps in the chat and says, but nothing was taken, nobody knows that.
There's other cameras.
Her purse wasn't taken. Well, you don't have to take somebody's purse to rob them.
You
were in there 40 friggin' minutes.
Question: will we get more? We've asked the Google, hey guys, can you do this? And they said the very same thing. Sheriff, we don't think we can get anything, but we'll try. And that's all we're hopeful. If you're the guy, if you're that monster, you should be worried. You should let her go. Just let her go.
Are you getting closer?
I think we are.
So when Brian's 10 minutes were up, the timed 10 minutes he was allotted, that's when the sheriff decided to pick a fight with Brian Enton. Dude, read the fucking room. The whole country loves Brian Enton. That guy can do no wrong. And the sheriff decided that he was pissed off about a graphic that went up on News Nation last night. And he had it on his phone. Okay. And when Brian even came in for the interview, he's like, I've got questions for you too, Brian. And so this graphic was on the sheriff's phone. And he starts grilling Brian Enton about the graphic that News Nation put up on the air last night, which effectively just
the reason they have a contract with that lab out in Florida. The lab puts in a bid. It's a bidding situation.
listed line by line all the missteps that the Pima County Sheriff has had in this Nancy Guthrie investigation. So take a look at this graphic. Its headline is Pima County Sheriff Department investigation mistakes. And it starts this way: delayed FBI assistance. That's a bit questionable because the FBI said it, but the sheriff said it didn't happen. Crime scene released quickly. Well, the sheriff copped to that. Missed the roof camera. They did. It had to be taken off days later. Delayed thermal imaging plane. No grid search done. Unaware of the Guthrie family videos. Well, we know that because it was apparently the sheriff's wife who had to tell him that the Guthries had recorded a video to the alleged kidnappers who were, demanding ransom. Blocked the FBI from evidence. That's a bit questionable because it's not that they were blocked. The sheriff just sent the evidence to the lab they always sent it to in Florida, and the FBI arrived the next day. So it's not necessarily... maybe that's not so accurate. And then no clear investigation lead. A lot of the people on the ground said they weren't sure who was leading the investigation, the feds or the sheriff. Those were the guys reporting to Brian Enton that. Backtracking statements. Jesus, I mean, are you kidding me? Backtracking statements every day. There are statements that
nothing was missing, dude. Hey, Rich, how do you know that? How do you know that nothing was missing? How do you know nothing was missing? You got the report that nothing was missing, not a thing was missing. Nothing was taken, nothing. You know that for a fact, Rich? I bet you don't, Rich. I bet you're getting your information from the same place I'm getting my information from, Rich. So chill out, dude.
That are unclear and backtracked, and then wrongly detaining a man. Not sure if he was wrongly detained.
How do you know? How do you know? How do you know? How do you know? You don't know. I don't know either. That's why I said that that's my theory. That's my theory. You got a theory? Get your own show.
Certainly a man was detained, and it looks like he might not have anything to do with it. That's that Carlos fellow from Rio Rico. Okay. So he has that graphic on his phone.
Don't make me go Sheriff Nanos on you, dude.
And he's like seething. I guess he's been watching a lot of TV and he didn't like that. And so he decided to go after Brian Enton. The Brian.
Nothing was taken. Apparently, Rich read the report that nothing was taken from inside the house.
Enton. Yeah.
Yeah, well, so do you.
The guy that you and I and everybody else in America absolutely loves. Like he's our generation's Cronkite. And if you lose Cronkite, Sheriff Nanos, anyway, here's
my theory might suck, but your information is shit because you don't know what you're talking about. So there you go.
how here's how that all went down. Take a look.
You're fair in your questions today.
Okay.
I thought that the post on last night that I received of what you guys displayed on your screen of faults from this department, not one, not two, not some, every single one of those can be disputed, that they're completely without any factual basis to them. And that inaccuracy, I would think your team, your producers or networks would want to resolve.
Take care.
Okay, I don't think that's going to go over well. I just don't think attacking Brian Enton is going to win you any any candy boxes or flowers. But then something else happened. A Fox reporter was in there, got his 10 minutes, and asked the question about the.
Look, that could explain the 40 minutes that the robbery went wrong and that they were having to try to cover tracks. That's just, you know, I don't go right to SA. I mean, I just don't. I mean, I don't know. Bad day to be rich.
40 photographs and names that were being taken around by the FBI to all those gun shops, right? Here is one of the gun shop employees. I'm not sure if he's an owner or an employee, but he was there, and Fox interviewed him about the FBI being there. And here's what he said. Take a look.
He had given me a paper list of people that had pictures and names on it, and he wanted to know if.
Yeah, but that's the thing, Rod. Not everybody, but there are people, every time I give my theory, when people ask me my theory, and I give it because that's just my theory, doesn't mean it's right. And I don't really care if I'm right about it or not, but that's just what I think. It's the most reasonable explanation to me. But then they go, but nothing was taken. How does anybody know that? I don't know what was taken and what wasn't taken. Yeah, they said, yeah, her purse was there. That doesn't mean you think her purse is the only thing that people take in a robbery.
If I could help him pull up in my system if any of these people have purchased a gun in the last year.
And from there, how did you respond? Can you kind of go more into that based on your comfort level?
Based on my comfort level, originally I was a little skeptical, but then
yeah, I mean, robbery gone wrong, called a friend to help dispose of the body. I mean, look, it's just a theory that I have. That's it.
And I feel bad for the family of I forgot the lady's first name, but the Guthrie case. I felt bad for the family, and honestly, anything that could help them find the person.
He looks like he works at a gun shop.
And I was willing to help. So I said that I'd be willing to help, and it was about 3 pages. And
I don't know if that's true.
The way that our system is set up is we type in the last name of the person, and it usually brings up all their information: first name, last name, phone number.
Did he really rule out burglary? Because I don't think so.
Address, all of that. And I went through the 3 pages. There was probably 6 or 7 names.
The guy who disagrees with you, isn't that your pet peeve with Nancy Grace? No.
Names. There were 6 or 7 people per sheet. And so I just went through each sheet, all 3 sheets, and I typed in the last name, and nothing popped up. And the thing that I just noticed the most was that the last names, we're pretty familiar with our customers, so I could look.
Yeah, but a kidnapping, basically kidnapping is that her body, she was moved, she was taken, whether that be alive or not.
Look at the names and be like, okay, yeah, that person might have been in here before. But honestly, the last names were really uncommon. So I was typing in the last names. I was like, I don't recognize this one. I don't recognize that one. And so I just went through the 3 sheets, typed them all in, and none of those people had ever been here.
How many names and photos total?
To be honest, I don't remember the exact number of names per sheet, but it was 3 papers. And I want to say that there was probably 6 to 8 people per sheet. They had photographs and they had names, and it was 6 to 8 per sheet.
You had mentioned beforehand too that you noticed something when looking through the photographs. Can you kind of go back into that?
Yeah, so the FBI agent didn't tell me why he was here, other than just he wanted to know if somebody or any of these people that he had on the papers had purchased a gun from us. But as I was looking at the sheets,
Making fun of people's victory.
because I had watched the video on the news of the kidnapper, you know, sticking bushes in the camera, and it showed his face, and even though he was wearing a ski mask, you could sort of see the outline of his goatee, his mustache, and everything. So I was able to look at the photos that he was showing me, and I told the FBI agent, I was like, I'm no investigator, but my intuition is telling me, based on how these people's facial hair looks like, it looks like the guy that was on camera at that house doing the kidnapping. And he honestly kind of just smirked and took a deep breath, and he was like, yeah, that's why I'm here. He was like, we're going to be going to different gun shops, checking to see if any of these names that I'm showing.
No, it's just what I think. Just because it doesn't line up with what you think, who cares? I hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong.
When you hear any of these people have purchased a gun in the last year, and so my intuition was right.
They never ruled out that it was a burglary. I mean, they were saying that was even a theory that they were working on. But it wasn't the only theory that they were working on.
That's what he was here for. And then so I just went on to check on our system to see if any of those people that were on the sheet had been in here to buy a gun, but unfortunately none of them had.
Okay, so there's somebody saying that the FBI has been there and showed him pictures and names, and he's trying to help. Here is a Fox reporter who's given his 10 minutes with Sheriff Chris Nanos, asking about the report that Brian Enton broke yesterday, that there are 40 names and photographs being taken around by the FBI, just like that guy you saw being shown these pictures and being asked, have you seen these people in your shop? Have they bought a weapon here? Watch what happens when the sheriff is asked about that question.
We've heard, for instance, the FBI is asking about 40 people at gun stores.
That's not true. We haven't narrowed it down to anything other than we have certain pieces of evidence that we're looking at to try to find this individual.
Do what now? You literally said that's not true. It is true, Sheriff Nanos. It is true. Do you not know?
But Jason, I don't think that they ruled it out. That's what I'm saying. I don't, nothing, it doesn't feel like anything's been ruled out except everything's been ruled out and in and out and in and out and in and in and out. And in and out and out and in.
Know that it's happening, or are you not telling the truth? Because I'm starting to wonder if you're just not being honest with us. I know that you haven't been honest about some of the things that I've reported, because things
she's got an axe to grind
that happened in your department in the first couple of days, I had a source on it and you said it wasn't true. And now I'm starting to wonder if you're really sharing the truth with a lot of these reporters, especially after you just looked at a Fox reporter and said, that's not true. Bullshit. It's true. We're actually seeing the gun shop owners saying it's true because they were there and the FBI showed up. Okay. And
got pissed again. But WSU mom, and you may be half right. The other guy may be half right. Are you talking about my theory? I don't care if I'm right. I just think that's just my theory. I really, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
To the extent that you might wonder about the inexperience, he's bitching and moaning to Brian Enton saying, and all these complaints that we don't have a lot of experience here. I reported that. Brian has reported that. There was a big exodus out of that sheriff's department and a lot of new guys came in. And the average experience length of years on the force now is like 3. That comes from a former homicide detective at the Pima County Sheriff's Department. He was the one who said
I honestly, I don't care if I'm wrong. I don't care if I'm right, but if I was right, I won't gloat about it. If I was wrong, I'd be like, yeah, I was wrong. I just want them to find out what happened. I hope that Miss Nancy's alive. I hope that the case gets solved, and I hope that she's reunited with her family. And if that isn't the case, then I hope that they can figure out what happened and that the family can have some closure. That's what I hope. That's it. That's my hope. And that's what I'm rooting for. I'm not rooting for my theory. Yeah, I'm not rooting for that. I'm rooting for a happy ending. I'm rooting for that she can be reunited with her kids and grandkids.
Average, number of years that they have an experience is about 3. And the word that he used was, that's a baby cop. Okay. So the sheriff is pissed about that too, saying we have lots of experience and lots of department heads that are experienced. And to the extent you might wonder about the experience, Pima County's 5-year homicide rate from their 2024 county annual report, the homicide rate is 14 per year. So that's not a lot. That's not a lot of homicides, So the experience that you get dealing with homicides at 14 per year ain't the same as New York City, ain't the same as Los Angeles or Chicago or any of these places, right? So they're
this is something we've been covering for, I don't know, a week and a half at least. And I've heard it all, I've played it all, I've listened to it all, I've reacted to it all.
Maybe just
and I know that there have been problems in the department.
Not as much muscle memory with some of the
You can do better.
younger guys. If you're only
Josh, you could do better.
dealing with 14
Actually, I don't think I can, actually. I really don't.
a year. And it's not a huge department of sheriff's deputies in the homicide unit either. And again, it was the homicide unit. I keep saying that only because they were the ones that showed up.
Most people aren't arguing with my theory. It's just that if it doesn't go with theirs, some people decide to tell you that you don't know what you're talking about or you're stupid. I'll be the first to tell you, I don't know what I'm talking about. I mean, somebody asked my opinion. Somebody thinks that I have insight. I've been right before. I've been wrong before.
To process the scene, they saw some signs inside Nancy Guthrie's house that said
I will tell you that I don't think that I have some crazy theory. I don't think that she was flown to Mexico on a private jet. And I just don't believe that.
we need the homicide guys.
And I don't believe that it was a ransom. I don't think it was a kidnapping ransom. Because if that were the case, I think that this would have been resolved. Once again, that's all I meant. That's all I'm saying.
It's in here. Maybe they saw the blood on the front porch. Maybe, as my source said, they saw the blood inside the house. Back door wide open was what my source said. Smashed cameras, plural.
Rich still here? Is he still here? What happened? I don't see him. What happened to Rich? Did Rich go? Where's Rich? I haven't seen Rich, and I thought he was gone. Not that I care.
Cameras was what my source said. Some of these things are all bearing out to be true. Okay, next thing. Brian Enton witnessed something today. Just interesting to see what's happening investigatively. Again, the sheriff has said that we're going to see activities as the investigation continues. But today, Enton saw 2 men who showed up at Nancy Guthrie's house. One of them was in a pickup truck and one of them was in a Subaru. Neither one of these vehicles was marked. They weren't wearing any kind of insignia. They didn't have badges.
Well, I'm on the West Coast, so it's not as late as you would think. I mean, it is getting late for sure.
Didn't have guns. One man had a briefcase, and when I say briefcase, it was like a big, thick, black, wide briefcase, like that thick, right? Almost like the kind that you see lawyers carrying into court because they just have so many legal documents. It kind of looked like one of those. The video shows these guys arriving and then checking in with the sheriff's deputy and being allowed to, head back to the back of the house. What they were doing, don't know. But Michael Ruiz from Fox News said that the Fox flight team spotted 2 men arriving at Nancy Guthrie's home Tuesday afternoon, that they walked through the home and entered into the garage.
I'm done with Banfield. Well, Janet says we're on the same page, Josh. I just don't understand people with differing opinions getting so argument because people want to be right. They want to be right to their own detriment. And if somebody disagrees, they tell you you're stupid, or not everybody. Most people are fine with people's opinions, and but not everybody. And then they go, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, I'd be one of the first people to tell you. I don't know. I don't know what happened. That's just my theory. If nobody ever asked me my theory, I would have never said. I don't really care about a theory that much. But for the sake of, hosting a show and people saying, hey, Josh, and people ask me all the time, what's your theory? That's my theory. That's it. That's how I feel about it. And I'm comfortable with sharing it. I had to think about it because I had no idea. But it's not a theory that I'm going to live and die by. It's not one that I'm going to gloat about if I'm right. It's not one that I'm going to be bummed out about if I'm wrong. I truly don't care that much to be upset about it. So if people want to get, in a tussle with me about it, then, they want to fight about it, then they can shove their head up their butt and fight for air. I really don't I truly don't care. So that's fine. I don't even know what that means. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Appreciate you being here. I guess, at some point we're going to have to just take a night away, but we'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll probably be back in some sort of fashion, It is. It is. Yeah, we're just chatting, we're taking it in together. We're talking about it. And I enjoy you guys. In Kinder. Okay, well, you can go troll somebody else's chat, weirdo. I don't have to do anything that you tell me to. Matter of fact, I'll keep talking about it again. I don't, people's opinion really it doesn't bother me. My opinion's my opinion and your opinion's your opinion. And it's okay, to disagree. I don't mind. Your opinion's your opinion and my opinion's my opinion, and I don't mind. It's okay. You can feel how you feel and I can feel how I feel. And you can feel how I feel and I feel how you feel. In Kidoo Rises, whatever stupid video game name that is. I'm sure you have pajamas with feet. You probably take the crust off an Uncrustable too. You strike me as that kind of guy or girl or whatever. You're probably maxed out on prestiging on Call of Duty as well. And you probably write with your left hand, even though you're right-handed, but you're too stupid to realize that, which is like a bummer. And who knows? I mean, probably sleep with a teddy bear. Probably 47 years old. God knows what damp, cold room you live in. Probably rent it from some guy who's on oxygen that's just waiting to die. And I'm pretty sure that I'm right about most of this. That's just my theory, though. It's just a theory. It's just a theory. I don't know. I have no idea. Never trust the crust. Yeah. Crust issues. Had some pizza last night, but had some pizza last night. Didn't eat the crust because I have crust issues. It must have sucked getting picked last for kickball. I don't know, man. Never trust the crust. That's right. All right, Inkindu rises. I hope you meet some really cool people in your Call of Duty lobby, and maybe maybe somebody will show you some love one day. It's all right, dude. It's okay. What was it we were talking about? It was yeah. I don't mind if somebody has a different opinion than me when somebody asks me my opinion. I'm looping. I'm looping. I'm looping. I'm looping. I'm looping. I'm looping. Good night. I did my best. I'm looping. Move on. Move on. Move on. Can you just move on, please? You do the show just move on. Move on.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lab After Dark is starting shortly.
I'm looping. Help. Yeah, you know, because shutting the F up is really good for a show, right? That's the kind of show that you would do. Oh my God, you're talking? Well, you should shut up. I truly do. I love the internet.
Lab After Dark is starting shortly.
Look, I don't mind when, you know, people ask me my opinion. It's just my opinion, you know, and because I don't care either way. I don't care if I'm right, and I don't care if I'm wrong. Did I mention that already? I don't remember if I did. Did I? I did? Did I mention? Oh, okay, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm looping. I'm looping. Haters gonna hate, yo. Yeah, buddy. That's the theme of the night. Haters gonna hate. Haters. Haters gonna hate. Movers gotta move. Loopers gotta loop. Lovers gotta love. We looping. Haters gonna hate. Lovers gonna love. Losers gonna lose.
Well, you open that Pandora's door. But whatever.
Oh, Mount Mom, I was just talking to some turd face. Whenever they give me shit, I like to give them shit. But the best part is, like, I have an audience for it. People actually listen when I do it. They're just social terrorists. Nobody listens. Good night, everybody.